Hi everybody, welcome to Frame Trap. If you're not familiar with this show, this is a relaxed, settle in, sink into it discussion about video games, about current things that we're playing, about old things that we're playing, whatever we're interested in, whatever we're feeling. We'll have a discussion about it. There's some quirky things thrown in, which we'll address when we get there. I'm your host, Ben Moore. Right next to me is the ever cool Bradley Ellis.
Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter. I just have to say, we're going to talk about Monster Hunter World, and I'm going a little early here, but it's just so cool to see, actually everyone talking about Monster Hunter and be excited and getting into it from all over the spectrum of experience. I think that's very, very cool. And at the end there, rocking an awesome shirt. What is that, Blood? What shirt? What game is that from?
This is from PSX. This is River Bond, one of the characters. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a delightful character.
It's like a cat in a spacesuit, essentially.
That's, cat in space.
What's not to love?
Always a good design. At the end there, Daniel Bloodworth. Blood, you said something really funny to me before the show. You just kind of looked down, and you were like, I've been playing racing games for 3 months. And it's true.
Yeah,
the last, 3 reviews you've done have been racing games?
Yeah,
Okay.
Forza, Gran Turismo, and Need for Speed.
Yeah.
All late as well, but
Yeah.
you get behind, and then you're just behind on the next one when they
Yeah.
come out that rapid fire. And there's still I don't know when I'll get to do it, but I still wanted to do some kind of a wrap up on the ones that I've missed. Just play each one for a day or something.
And those aren't quick reviews, you know?
No.
Absolutely not.
That's not quick.
Yeah. But, you're the only guy that could really do it. And I appreciate you taking that and doing it and covering those games.
The weird thing with being late was it really worked in my favor for Gran Turismo because they didn't open up the championship things or whatever, the online competitions,
cool.
until that week that I was at that point, and so it was oh, this is the first time this has happened. I'm ready to just jump in online right now, and it's happening. So
yeah, it's funny that you say that because we never want to be super late with reviews, but it does sometimes really work out in your favor where it's oh, you're doing this huge patch that addresses things that I would have complained about completely. And so, yeah, it does work out in your favor sometimes. But kind of planning out this show, this is going to be the last episode we do before Christmas, before the holidays.
Whoa, dude.
Before we all celebrate and separate. And my question to you guys, I usually ask, hey, what are you doing with your family? What are your plans? Where are you going to be? Who are you going to be hanging out with? Not this time. I got a different question.
Ooh.
I want to know the number one present that you want to get this Christmas. And I don't want I don't want anything, or it's all about loved ones. I want the goods. I want to know what you want.
I got
Okay,
one.
Brad's got it.
So my new hobby now is collecting physical soundtracks of video games.
Oh, nice. It's a good hobby.
So my brother goes, what do you want for Christmas? I never know what to get for Christmas. I never even asked for anything because when we were younger, it was video games, which we get ourselves now, and Star Wars toys.
Yeah.
And that's about it.
And which you also get yourself.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. And so I was like, hey, man, why don't you give me that Persona 5 soundtrack, dude?
Yeah.
And he's like, okay.
Nice.
So, because I bought Nier. I bought the Nier soundtrack.
Great.
I have Breath of the Wild that came with mine. I bought Chrono Trigger also.
Nice.
So I'm starting that collection.
Yeah.
It feels like Bloodworth style, man. I feel like Bloodworth when I'm doing this now.
My fantasy is whenever I come over to Brad's house, there's just some sweet classic game soundtrack playing, just lightly in the background.
Yeah, just
out and you're
throughout the house.
Yeah, welcome to my abode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is kind of funny. I probably would have anyone ever came to my house, I probably wouldn't let them in my room at this point just because it's so jammed and cluttered right now. But literally, if you look across the room, there's just stacks of CDs on top of all the furniture.
Too cool, man. Too cool.
Blood's been collected.
Yeah,
for a
Blood's
long
been
time.
collecting, dude. I'm inspired by Blood's collection, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm never good at gifts. Gifts is not a strong point of mine on either end of receiving or giving. But this year we're actually not even doing a lot of gifts. Because my wife's never been to Disney World or Disneyland, and so my mom was like, "We can do presents, or we can go to Disney World."
Yeah. Oh, Blood
that's
wins.
Sick, Blood, yeah.
That is really
that's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, we're going to be going to Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, nice.
Last year, I got my girlfriend and I tickets to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and like going to, I don't know, I love theme parks. So always going to theme parks is great. And so like hearing that your wife has never been to Disney, like that's going to be a good time. Mm-hmm. Mine is not that cool. And like you were saying, Blood, I kind of struggle with gifts too. And the thing is it's not for lack of effort. I feel like there are people out there that are really good at like amazingly creative gifts because perhaps in part they are super creative. But when it comes to me, like I've had moments where I'm like, okay, what is this person all about? And I just like really struggle to think of like a cool gift for them, and it's something I want to get better at. Mm-hmm. But what the number one thing that I want this year is a new graphics card.
Oh sure.
Heck yeah. Be some stuff coming out.
Do you know what you have right now?
I have a 980 right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. Yeah.
So,
like at that point where it's like it's getting about that time, and you know, struggling.
Are you gonna get a 1080 or are you gonna wait for the next one?
I don't know. I'm gonna
feel it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna kind of feel it out. There are a couple of different cards that I've been looking at.
Cool.
But I don't think I'm gonna actually get a card because like I asked for this and they're like, we're just gonna give you money. Like, I don't know.
Oh, that's good too, though.
So I think I'm just gonna get money for the card,
yeah.
and then I can kind of really make sure.
Yeah, I feel like that would be an intimidating purchase for someone.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Give me the GTX 980 card. They're just like, what?
This isn't the right one.
Well, how much RAM is that?
Yeah. All right. That was good. I liked that went better than even I anticipated. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Really want to talk about Monster Hunter World, but Brad, you know what I actually want to start with is you were like, hey, I've been playing this, I've been loving it, and it just made me so happy that this is what I want to start with. Blood, you obviously have a lot of experience with this as well. Brad, you've been playing through Chrono Trigger.
Playing through it? I finished it.
You finished
it?
Nice.
Completed.
Yeah. What?
But finishing that game is a little bit...
I got the canon ending.
Yeah,
I haven't done New Game Plus yet.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you kind of almost need a second playthrough just to get that full experience.
You've seen an ending of Chrono Trigger.
Correct.
You went front to back. What prompted this? Why Chrono Trigger? Why now?
So Chrono Trigger, obviously one of the most famous JRPGs of all time. Mm-hmm. Never owned it growing up. Yeah. Rented it a few times. Played it. Little kid. Pretty bad at video games. Didn't know, you know.
Sure. Yeah.
Adult, I'm like, it's time, dude. It's time. I love JRPGs. This is the one.
Yeah.
Going back, making it right.
Making it right.
Yeah, making it right, man.
Now, this is a game. I mean, there are a lot of games that fall into this category, and we're very guilty of this as well. Where it's like, sometimes it feels like you can't even have a conversation about Chrono Trigger. Mm-hmm. It's just like Chrono Trigger and then everybody kneeling down and praying.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's kind of what it can feel like.
Yeah, the vibe,
But you're coming at it all of these years later, all of that reverence behind it. Mm-hmm. Is it worthy of that?
I would say yes.
Okay.
I would say it holds up fine. Okay. Or like not even fine, like a fine wine.
Okay.
It's such a simple game, which I didn't expect, especially in the combat sense. Mm-hmm. Everything's really simple. You ain't got your sphere grids anymore. You don't got the Esper system where you're like calculating all that going on. You got your moves with your character. Everyone learns the same moves. But the best part, man, my favorite part about the combat is the team-up attacks.
Yep.
Now, team-up attacks are probably one of the sickest things in video games, I think, of all time. There's nothing more rad than when you're Chrono and Frog and you do cross-slash for the first time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So simple, yet so beautiful and exhilarating.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Well, dude, I'm just going to ramble on like Frog.
No, it's okay.
Frog is, I think, one of my favorite JRPG characters of all time.
Frog is my favorite character in that game. I mean, in an all-star cast, Frog is my favorite.
Yeah.
The scene where he cuts the mountain, man, like it's just the sickest thing ever.
So I played the DS version, and it had the anime cutscenes in it.
Yeah.
That cutscene.
Yes, it's
phenomenal. When I beat the game, I just posted that on Twitter.
Yeah.
I didn't even say anything. I just posted it because it was so awesome.
Right. So you were talking about the combat, and you were talking about it being simple but being really satisfying. I mean, you have those dual attacks, you have those tri attacks that, you know, filling the entire screen, super flashy. Mm-hmm. The thing I think that can be a problem for JRPGs is the battle system starts cool and kind of as you're learning it, it's really satisfying. But once you figure it out, it gets kind of boring or rote. Do you think, you know, the enemies, the bosses, like, did the combat system remain interesting to you?
For me, it did. The game does a good job at throwing bosses at you that you have to use different strategies for. And it does a great job of, like, for instance, when I started the game, I'm like, I'm going to use Frog and Robo the entire game because it's a robot and a frog on my team. And that's really awesome.
Brett, the way you looked at me, where you were like, I'm going to do this and you should do.
Yeah. But then I found myself using, like, when I started the game, I wasn't so hot on Marl. I think that's how you pronounce her name. Merrill. I wasn't so hot on her. Then as I was getting these characters, I was running into different scenarios where I started throwing characters in and out depending on certain situations that I was in. And I think that's the beauty of that combat system is it encourages you to it's complicated in a different way instead of just menus and figuring out like talents and stuff like that. It's using characters in certain situations. Like, for instance, I would go through a dungeon or something using Magus because he has really good magic that hits everybody.
Right.
Then I get to a boss where I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to throw in Marl right here or something like that so she can do like insanely good heals on everybody like that.
Right.
That's where I found myself using. The character I used the least, I think, later on was Luca.
Yeah.
She felt the weakest to me for what I was experiencing, but she might be really good.
I love her as a character.
Yeah, she's great.
Especially early on, yeah.
Like, there's a scene in the game, spoilers, I guess. Old game, though. Just heads up. Heads up. Spoilers.
You can fast forward a little bit if you don't want to hear the section.
Yeah, or I'll hold my hand up like this. I'm raising my hand.
Okay,
so
good. I like this. This is much better.
Where the game you travel back in time all the time and you could do things in the past that changes the future. There's a certain scene where you go back in time as Luca and you see Luca and her mom doing like experiments and everything like that, and you're playing as adult Luca. Her mom gets stuck in like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
And you could help, like if you don't help her, she'll lose her leg or something like that. She gets crippled in some way. But if you go to this computer panel, enter the password, which is her mom's name. I think it was Laura or something like that. You could actually save her mom. And when she comes out of the time portal, she comes back, Robo's there, and they have like a nice little heart-to-heart discussion.
Yeah.
Just, it's full of little tiny moments like that. Like, when we were talking about Final Fantasy 15, I remember last year, Ben, we were talking about the moments that Noctis would have with individual characters.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of little moments like that.
Yeah. Brad, I think
the little campfire scene.
Really
nice.
I think you're doing an excellent job describing it. And something that I kind of wanted to bring up very quickly that I think we just don't see enough of is we're kind of at a point where you're seeing plenty of JRPG throwbacks where like we want to be like the classics, and I feel like sometimes when they go back, they miss some of the finer points. Like I think the reason Chrono Trigger is so great is because it's not always the same thing. I mean, you have the great moments like the trial. You obviously have the opening with the fair where it's like, okay, it's not just this map that you're exploring and fighting with great music. Like, there's more to it than that. It seems like it's a game that is constantly trying to throw you a slight curveball.
Yeah.
Not so much that the game grinds to a screeching halt, but it has just this absolutely wonderful flow to it. And that game is like, what, 20 hours long?
Took me 20 hours, yeah. And it never felt like it dragged.
It feels like such a complete adventure where you do so much throughout the entire course of it, and it's like, hey man, maybe not all of these need to be 80 hours. I'm not saying that everything should be 20 hours either, but
for the story it was telling, it was
right.
I'm not gonna say perfect, but a very great length for that story.
Yeah.
Oh, and all the side quests. So it does the side quest thing that a lot of people might know from Mass Effect 2, where you do specific side quests for like a character you to get more context, and like games like I Am Setsuna did that later on too. Yeah. Obviously taking a huge inspiration from Chrono Trigger, but just little individual moments in new RPGs do that, but just giving you a little more context behind these characters and their motivation, like with Magus, even things like that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Like his story of why he's doing what it is way deeper than I thought it was gonna be. I decided like, oh, he's just your typical evil JRPG bad guy.
Yeah, Brad, this conversation is coming at a terrible time. I haven't played Chrono Trigger forever. In fact, my first experience with Chrono Trigger was on the Anthology Collection on PS1.
Oof.
And
Oof.
yeah,
Low times.
Yeah, absolutely. And even at that point, I was like, am I going to enjoy this as much as everybody says it did? And I really, truly think you can make a case for that being...
Yeah. It's a game
one of the best in the genre.
It's one of the top JRPGs for me because it's one of those games I could play once a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Easily.
Absolutely. Blood. I remember you sharing with me like one of your very early reviews was Chrono Trigger in a newspaper, right?
Mm-hmm. I don't know that I did a review on it, but it definitely was in the some of my articles back then. Yeah.
If you had to name one thing that makes Chrono Trigger so special and makes it talked about so reverently, what do you think that thing would be?
I mean, to me, it was just a sense of personality that we didn't really have that full realization yet with JRPGs. Mm-hmm. You know, like the way that a lot of my friends referred to RPGs like Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy was round pudgy guys.
Okay.
Like everybody kind of like fit into this little square. Final Fantasy VI made them a little bit taller, but it was like their head was one square and their body was another square.
Yeah.
And Chrono Trigger, like you had these characters that just felt a lot larger and more animated. And these backgrounds, like Luca's house, is just so detailed.
So cozy.
The trial and like that whole castle is so detailed.
Yep.
And yeah, those moments where you kind of have you know that like sideways perspective, the bridge, the Kingdom of Zeal. Like there's just so much there where the art style just came to life in a way that we really hadn't seen in a lot of games before, to where it didn't look like every other game that was out there.
Yeah.
And so I think that, you know, that and the music were both huge, and yeah, this is whole, you know, very different concept as well, you know, of going back and forth through time, of getting this really crazy diverse cast.
Yeah.
I think all, you know, like every element just kind of, you know, plays into that, you know, like the gameplay works out with that, with, you know, again, like you just didn't have those kind of team up attacks, you know, where like one character grabs another by the legs and they just spin.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
And they had little fun distractions too, like the jet bike races in the future.
Yeah. Millennial Fair.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Brad, a question I get all the time is, you know, hey, I don't know this genre, or you know, I don't have a lot of familiarity with this. If somebody is coming at, you know, JRPGs or RPGs or you know, this old school style of game, and they're not super familiar with it, do you think it is worth making that hurdle for? Do you think it's kind of like, hey, wherever you're coming from with this, you'll have a good time?
For Chrono Trigger?
Yeah,
I think so.
Do you think you kind of need to already have an affinity?
No,
for
I don't
games?
think you need to, especially because it's simple to understand. You won't be confused really from combat and stuff like that, which could be a hurdle for a lot of people. Like, what was it? Tales of Zestiria.
Yeah,
like that whole system was like, what?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just like,
but like some games, just like insane amount of like tutorial, like figuring out how this game works. Chrono Trigger is very straightforward. You figure it out.
Yeah,
and it has like we were praising, like everything in that game is really good. Also,
yeah.
The only thing I would be afraid is like some games might not live up to for you, like JRPGs after that.
Right.
I think the other thing that was really kind of a big deal too, and you saw in a couple of Super NES RPGs, but overall, like even after Chrono Trigger, it was like, why aren't people doing this? Was just the fact that you could see enemies on the map, you know, and battle wasn't like this other completely weird screen. It was just like, nope, we're just gonna like spread out and we're gonna attack right here where we are.
Yeah, were they the first ones to do like positioning with enemies and how that can affect combat?
They weren't the first, but it was a factor, and also the fact that you know if you've been through this place 100 times, you can run around the enemies and skip them.
It's interesting with Chrono Trigger because at the time, like just seeing the enemies on the map as you're running through and being able to avoid them, at the time it was an outlier, and I feel like every JRPG that's out now that is the standard. You're not just getting those random encounters anymore, and so to have that be so influential is really, really cool. And that is a game I could play once a year. I think that is the best way.
Because it's not super long either.
Yeah. No, it's not. Exactly. And there's a game that I talk about every once in a while that I feel like, because of the way that it was released, it was an eShop. It was a 3DS eShop only game called Crimson Shroud, and it's only about 5 hours long, and it's got a really interesting tabletop-inspired battle system that like. I want more people to take a look at this, and like I think there's there's so many good things that you can do in this genre, but sometimes I'm worried that we get into this mindset of like, okay, everyone expects it to be this long, this complex, this philosophical.
Yeah, not every game needs to be the same. Right. Like, I don't think you should start off, I don't know if they do, but start off making a game, be like, we need this game at least 40 hours.
Right.
For an RPG. So, because it starts to drag. If
Absolutely starts to drag, yeah. When you said games that you could play once a year, I do want to take a little bit of an aside here. And Blood, I'm going to throw this at you first. Give me 3. This isn't set in stone. You can change this later. Give me 3 games that mean so much to you that you feel like you could play once a year.
Oh my gosh. I'm the worst with point blank questions too.
Brad, you can help in.
I got him.
Brad's got him.
He's already, yeah.
Okay.
Wow, what the heck?
So, Final Fantasy 7 I could play once a year. I could play Bloodborne once a year. And I could play Super Mario World once a year. Going through the whole thing.
That's good. I wasn't even thinking about Mario. There's a lot for me. I think Super Metroid is a game I could play once a year.
Yep. Good one.
There are a lot of choices for me on this. I feel like I could play like Mega Man X, Mega Man 2 once a year.
There's so many games, but just pick a few. Don't stress about it.
Yeah. And then Metal Gear Solid 1, I could play.
Great game.
Yeah.
Heck
Metal
yeah.
Gear Solid 1, I could play.
That's like a good length too.
It is.
That's a real good length.
It's a great length. Yes.
Man, I need to play through that game again. It's been so long since I beat one.
One of the things that we need to correct in 2018 is there is no full playthrough from the GT staff of Metal Gear Solid.
It was the first great, right? It was the first
great. It was the first.
That's
great.
quite an achievement.
Yeah. So maybe we'll do that during our Beach House 2018. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good Ben Moore stream.
Well, it'll be everybody. I mean, like,
but like everyone could get into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone could get into it.
Exactly. It's not just like one person.
Everybody likes that game here.
Yeah. Blood.
Oh my goodness.
Say Witcher 3. Just say it.
Once a year? No.
I'm still trying to just play through Witcher 3 once, period.
Yeah.
Yeah,
like I did go and do that second playthrough and like explored like all the nooks and crannies of the main map, but like I never did finish actually like doing that with the DLCs.
Yeah.
Like there's still side quests and stuff out there in those DLCs.
Yeah.
Blood and Wine is huge.
Yeah, I mean Super Metroid is super.
It's a great one.
Easy one to go with.
Final Fantasy 6, Blood.
Play that one all the time. I mean, six is actually a hard one to go back to.
Oh,
I think.
Really?
Whoa.
It's like I did, my full playthrough and like just really just
you did it all
absorbed into that game the first time around, and then like I wanted to play through it again, and like any other time that I would try to like pick it up and play through it again, like I'd somewhere along halfway I would just not make it all the way back through. And I had the same problem with Majora's Mask.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
Okay, I could see that.
I don't know. I feel like I could.
There's another one to beat every. Like I could beat Ocarina of Time once a year.
But Link's Awakening I think was one of my other ones too.
It could be any Zelda once a year. I feel like
I don't think
almost.
it could be any Zelda.
I would not beat Phantom Hourglass ever again.
Yeah, that
game's dead to me.
I love Skyward Sword. I feel like I'm a defender of Skyward Sword. I don't think I could do Skyward Sword once a year.
It's padded.
Yeah. Blood, you touched on something that I think is really interesting, where you were talking about Final Fantasy VI, and you're like, I kind of did it. I had that experience, and when I think about like RPGs that stick with me to an absurd degree, or the ones that I get really excited about replaying, aren't the ones that I necessarily are like, oh, I've got to see that story again, but I'm just so attached to those places and how they were presented.
Yeah.
Like just the how they funnel you through that world is what makes it so much fun. And Brad, when we were doing the Final Fantasy VII full playthrough at GT, that was really it for me. It wasn't about understanding every single nuance of Genova and
That's
Sephiroth.
what we talk about with the story a lot.
Yeah.
It's about the moments within it.
Right, it's about the moments within it. It's about going to the Gold Sauce for the first time, and yeah, to me that is the mark of a great.
Yeah. Well, what's weird about it too is like I still rank Final Fantasy VI as like one of my favorites in the series, like above 4 and above Chrono Trigger and above 7. Like, but it just like actually like going back and replaying it, like beginning to end. It's a weird thing that like certain games like I have a harder time doing that. Like Final Fantasy IV, I don't have that hard time doing that. Like I just cut through that game like butter, but.
Yeah, I cut through it like butter as well. I think Final Fantasy IV is one of the best ones. All right. We're in danger of falling into a nostalgia hole that we'll never be able to get out of.
Yeah.
So let's do the opposite of that. Blood, you've been playing some Need for Speed Payback, and
Yeah, I have.
I think it's fair to say that maybe that wasn't the most enjoyable experience ever.
It's one of those things where when you're playing the game, it's fine, but the game keeps you from playing it. So sometimes you're just like...
What do you mean by that?
So they've gone full hard on randomized progression, essentially. And I try to make this short because I spent 4 paragraphs in the review explaining the system. But basically, every race has like a car level that's recommended for you to be able to like tackle that race. Mm-hmm. Now you can go into that race without being that car level, but chances are your car won't be high enough stats to complete it. But they ratchet up really quick. So like one race will be like 150, and then the next one will be like 170, and then it'll be it'll be really quick. And so the way that your car ranks up is with speed cards. And so like the block, the head, the ECU, the turbo, the exhaust. Come up
with the name for the...
Yeah, they're just cards. They just have different brands. So if you have like 3 cards that are the same brand, then you'll get like extra boosts based on that brand. Like one is like turbo plus speed, or one is nitrous plus speed, another one's like acceleration plus brakes, something like that. And then there's also random perks that are on the cards. So some cards don't have any perks. Some cards can have up to 3 perks to these different stats. But
are those cards, are they like distinguished by like rarity or something, where if you get a certain tier
not necessarily, but like the ones that have like 3 perks are more rare.
Okay.
But every one of them, every card has also like a numbered level. And so based on the numbered level of the cards that you have, that determines your car's rating.
We've got eye levels in Need for Speed, man.
Yeah, is this like Battlefront style? How they handled
I didn't get into Battlefront, so but I think it's very similar.
What?
So anyway, so basically, so you will get a speed card from winning a race, and at some points in the game, like it's pretty easy to like once you've done that first race, then the next card was enough to boost you up to the next race, and then so on. But then other times, the worst thing, and here's the worst thing about this whole system, is it completely discourages ever buying a new car. Because when you buy a new car, then all of it is set back to level 1. And you can't just use a level 12 card from your other car. You can't use any cards from any of your other cars. You have to start from scratch and go to the shop and start buying cards. And you know, if your car currently has level 1 cards, then you can only get level 2 and 3 cards. And then once you get those, then you can just like replace them with 4 and 5 cards, and then replace them with 5 and 6, and it's just like it keeps this cycle. And you can the shops only get new cards once every 10 minutes. So you either have to sit around and wait for the timer to run out, or you go and do races that you've already done.
What?
Or go and do multiplayer.
More time fighting this absolutely inane progression system than you do like actually racing.
I think it's about 50-50.
Like, why would you completely cripple one of the most basic pleasures of this game? Like, imagine an RPG where it's like you can get new equipment, but you have to go back to level 1. Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, so I just stuck with basically like 7 or 8 cars, I think is all I had out of, I don't know, they probably have 100 cars in the game. But it's like any time that, like, it would tell me that I'd unlock new cars in the shops. I'm like, that's cool. I'm not going to go get them. I'm not going to buy any of those cars.
That's so lame. Like, whenever I'd play a racing game, it was so fun getting a new car and trying it out. Mm-hmm. But now you're like discouraged. You're like encouraged not to almost. You're encouraged to stick with one car pretty much.
Yeah, well, you have to have cars in each of the 5 categories.
Oh my god! So you have to do the grind.
Yeah,
you gotta wait. You gotta wait for the cards every 10 minutes, man.
Oh. Because there's regular just race. There's off road. There's drag. There's drift, and then there's runner, which is like the one that's always doing like the missions back, like taxi type missions, where you're like getaway driver or run away from the cops and stuff like that. Although the runner also has some of the most annoying missions in the game, which I didn't talk about in the review. There are these things where like they're kind of like they give different context for them, but like one time it's called a courier mission, another time it's like drop points, another time you're like taking this guy around to hack things. But basically it scatters like 8 different spots on the map, and you have to like rush to each one of them before the time runs out. And then if you don't get to all of them in time, then like you have to start over and then listen to all of the conversations all over again. And the other thing that's annoying about it too is that like you literally have to stop and like watch this cutscene that's just your car sitting there with somebody giving some dialogue before you can go on to the next one. But yeah, so it's like, yeah, each time it's like you have to open a map and like, which one of these is closest? Click, drive to that. Okay, click, just drive to point. And try to navigate the city. And if you don't figure out the route, then you repeat the whole thing all over again.
So these speed cards, obviously the reason they're doing this is to encourage you to spend money to get speed cards to make this process smoother. What is I didn't
even get into that half of the system, because the other half. So there's the random card. There's the cards in the shop that you buy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But then what you do with your old cards is you basically junk them. You like recycle them into parts, and with like 3 parts, then you can spin a slot machine to craft a new card. So you pick like one thing. You pick either like what kind of card it is, like the exhaust or whatever. You pick the brand, or you pick a perk. And then you roll the slot machine, and the other 2 parts are random. This
almost sounds like some sort of parody where they were thinking about the progression system, and they're like, "What's every nasty microtransaction thing we can put in this? We got timers, we got randomized progression, we got literal slot machines."
Yeah.
And
you can end up with either one of those things. You can end up with complete dud cards that are no good for you. You know.
Yeah.
This sounds like a free-to-play game. It sounds like a free-to-play mobile game.
It's not.
Dude.
Yeah, and then when you level up and stuff through like whatever the reputation experience system, then you get shipments, which have a cosmetic item, some cash, and then the part tokens that you can use on the slot machine. But then that's where you can buy more shipments. You can buy regular shipments, or you can buy premium shipments that have more stuff in them.
Blood. Do you know how the community feels about this in the racing game? Do people care a lot about it? Does no one care?
Here's a very good indication of what I think the community probably thinks of this. When I went to review the multiplayer, after 10 ranked races, I got an achievement for doing 10 ranked races. That achievement has been earned by 1% of the people playing the game.
Whoa. That's pretty bad.
It takes like 20 minutes to do that. Like maybe 30 at the most.
Wow.
So nobody's playing this game online.
Yeah.
Blood, what's amazing to me is we've been talking about Need for Speed Payback for about 8 minutes. And you did describe that mission type that was super annoying. But beyond that, it's pretty much just been of everything's... No. I'm just saying this to prove points. It's just kind of been everything, this convoluted mess surrounding the game, rather than like how the game actually feels to drive. Like is and I bet I know the answer to this. Like, is there enough there? Is it fun enough, I guess, on some sort of basic level to put up with all this BS?
I mean, I think it is for some people, like if you're not that worried about it,
right.
like you want to, like there's still always that like part of you that like wants to see your stats go up, or like you really want to like get those, max out your row with like cars that all have like 3 perks or whatever.
Sure.
But, and then just, off-roading and stuff is always fun. Like there's these gigantic jumps in this game.
Cool. Mm-hmm. But aren't there better racing games to play now then?
Oh, yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah, for sure. They also do a good twist on the Forza Horizon thing. Like, when you go around and you find like the junk cars, and they just like put this enormous thing on the map for you to like scour. So Payback has that kind of a system, but what they do is they do kind of like the Assassin's Creed thing, where they just give you kind of like a hand-drawn map, and then you like compare that to your game map and like figure out, okay, like where is this intersection actually at?
Oh, okay.
And then when you get there, it's not that hard to find the parts, but rather than just finding the car like as a whole, you actually have to find 5 parts to assemble the car. And the first one is easy, like you just drive up to it and you have it. But the other ones are usually on top of these plateaus, and so you have to drive around and find out a way to jump up there. And some of them are like kind of devious, to where it's like you jump too fast and you'll just like fly off the other side.
Yeah.
And so one time I actually just like started mashing the button to like hit it as I was flying. But then like Need for Speed has had in a lot of games, they also have like a visual customization system with like you just like exchange all the body panels and stuff. And what's cool is like in Forza Horizon, like when you get that car, like you just get that car fully restored. Need for Speed, when you get that car, it's completely rusted over. It's just this, it runs fine, but it looks like a huge junker. And then you can go through and you can replace each one of those body parts with either, a matching, like a clean version of the original body, or like, whatever crazy stuff you can come up with and put the lights under it and everything. And then once you like have gotten rid of all the rust, then you can repaint it and put on your designs and stuff.
Man, it just kind of sounds like they keep the carrot on the stick like way too far out. Like you just have to as you're working through this game, you just have to go through so much to kind of get anything.
So you don't like that? You don't like that idea of restoring the car?
I like the idea of restoring the car, but like that on top of like meeting the requirements, which is not guaranteed for the next race. It just seems like they're just. If one of those areas, if there was like slightly fewer steps, then that might be a very, very cool thing. But on top of everything else, it just sounds like too much. I haven't really experienced it myself, so I can't say. But
it sounds like a huge grind.
Yeah, it just sounds like a huge grind. That's what it sounds like. But it sounds like you were kind of into the idea of going through that process of the restoration.
Yeah. Actually, that's one of the things that like I feel like they did better than what Forza's original idea was, because there have been times where with those barn finds where it's just like, man, this is just I'm just crisscrossing, just back and forth, just endlessly looking for wherever this stupid little building is.
Sure.
And this to me felt like there were definitely times where it's annoying to like, where the heck is this jump at, and I'm like driving off of cliffs for no good reason trying to find it. But for the most part, like, I enjoyed it. Like, and again, like doing jumps is fun. So like once you find the jump, it's like, all right, yeah, there it is.
Cool.
So,
but with Payback, it's not just, progression. It's not just these races. There is a story there. There is, you have a crew. There's a whole setup. There is betrayal. How is that? Because when you say, when I'm talking about this and you go, oh yeah, that doesn't sound promising.
It's not. I think the biggest sin with the story is not that it's campy, because they're always going to be campy and kind of awful.
Yeah.
It's that those story moments, which kind of come few and far between, they're kind of like chapter breaks in a way. So it's like you do some story, and then open world, you can go do this set of races, that set of races, and this set of races, and then after you do that, then back to a story thing, and so it kind of works like that. And the problem is, and especially the opening takes far too long, is you'll be driving along, and then it'll be like, all right, now jump off the back of this trailer, and I'm like, cool. And then right before I get to the trailer, cutscene. I'm like, I don't get to do the jump. Like, you don't trust me to drive onto that trailer and jump over this bridge or whatever. So, and that kind of thing happens multiple times. And then a lot of the story stuff is also just like really easy. Like even the last race, like there was a point where I'm like, where are the other cars right now? And I literally like stopped and went in reverse and still didn't see any cars. And I don't like, is it bugged? What is happening? And like a lot of the points too, there are times really later in the game where the cops do get to be more difficult. Mm-hmm. But so many times where it's just like scrape, big crash, like tissue paper kind of thing.
Is it just the story-driven races that have this problem? Does that extend to, you know, kind of more of the open world challenges as well, or?
Well, I mean, the difficult thing is with the randomized progression system and numbers and all this stuff, like I could wait around for that shop to get good cards to upgrade my car, and like, nope, these are all duds, these are all duds, these are all duds. And then in one round, it's like, boom, I'm over leveled. Like instantly, like 40 points above where I should be. So there are a lot of times where it's like, yeah, this isn't really like that big of a challenge, but it's like I guess I could, you know, bump up the difficulty to hard, but you know, it's still going to be that same kind of thing to where it's like it's all just going to be numbers based.
Right.
And the same kind of thing happened with multiplayer. Like everyone's level 399, but this guy's smoking me because he obviously like must have like found a way to like work the cards to be like all the perks and, you know, max out the individual stats on the car.
You've played more Need for Speed than any of us. You probably played more Need for Speed than all of us combined. And the sensation that I get is they just can't figure it out. Like Need for Speed has been not...
Well, they had it for a bit, and then for whatever reason when Criterion split and they formed Ghost Games, it seems to be more of a struggle again.
What do you want?
I think that like the 2010 Hot Pursuit and was it 2012 Most Wanted? I don't remember which year that was, but this, you know, the remake of Most Wanted that was nothing like Most Wanted. To me, those have been like the best recent games in the series. Mm-hmm. You know, like Hot Pursuit, like really got that, you know, cops and racers vibe down right. It like started the whole autolog thing, and it like at that time it felt fresh and it like felt like leaderboards mattered again.
Right.
And then the Most Wanted did this funny thing where they like put people's faces on the billboards, so that like if you saw your friend's face up there, like you knew that like, okay, it's like let me smash his face and try you know try to beat that score.
It's funny.
I want blood to smash our faces.
Me too.
Like it's fellow allies up there.
And they, you know, I think they did like had some of the most fun, you know, drifting, you know, with the crazy hero drifts and the giant corkscrew kind of designs on those tracks.
Right. But I mean, thinking back to those games, like I played some Hot Pursuit and Most Wanted as well, and just trying to recall my memories on them. It's sort of what we were talking about with Chrono Trigger is like, yes, they did have new innovations that felt fresh at the time, like you were saying, but there was a simplicity to them, you know, that was really, really fun, where like a big core of the appeal was I want to beat my friends, and that's a very, very simple desire, and you've taken that desire and you've applied it in really interesting ways. Yeah. Don't make things too complicated. I guess
don't have to. Not everything has to be complicated.
Not everything has to be complicated. But moving on, the thing that I'm most excited about to talk on this Frame Trap is I've played Monster Hunter World. I played it first at PSX, and then I played some of the beta yesterday, Sunday, and it filled me with great joy coming into this podcast. It's not going to be just me talking and rambling about Monster Hunter World. But Brad, you've played Monster Hunter World. What is your Monster... I guess I don't even know this. What is your Monster Hunter experience?
My Monster Hunter experience was capturing footage for Monster Hunter 4.
Yeah.
For Damiani, I think it was.
And that's funny because that's about the extent of my Monster Hunter experience.
Yeah,
is like,
that's about it.
We got some PSP games in from Japan, and like I'm wandering around with no idea what I'm doing in Japanese.
Yeah, I was like, what is this cat?
Capturing.
What is this cat with me? What's going on?
Yeah. So the first question I want to pose to you is, I've kind of seen reactions from all over the place, from people who are playing for the first time, like they don't have any Monster Hunter experience at all, and they're like, I love this, like I get it, it's great. I've seen people that are playing for the first time and they're like, cool, but I don't really know what's happening. I've seen people who have some experience or a lot of experience go like, yes, this is great. It feels so good to be playing this on consoles again instead of a handheld. I've seen, oh, this is way too easy. I don't like, what they've done with this or that. Where do you fall as somebody who doesn't have, who has only very little experience?
So my experience with it was like, I was like, what's Monster Hunter World about this? It seemed like just Monster Hunter to me. Like, what is the world about it? Because, it was just a demo, so I get that. I was just dropped in an area.
Yeah.
And you're tracking a basic monster. Because from the trailers I've seen, it seems to be like a story or something like that, which had me much more interested in it.
Right.
So, but the thing I liked about it, though, one thing I really liked about it is there's a wide selection of equipment to try out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like with Monster Hunter, at least for me, I'm going to find a weapon that really speaks to me and kind of stick with that. I don't know if people do that in Monster Hunter.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
But, yeah, it seemed good so far.
Okay.
I'm most interested in the story and see how you go through the world and, like, what you do in it, because I don't know a lot about Monster Hunter.
Right. You've touched on something that I think is really important to address, and kind of my big takeaway from the beta that I've played is what is so special about this. It just seems like prettier Monster Hunter when you're going and you're fighting things. And my big takeaway, and with the way that the beta is structured, I mean, it's structured like typical Monster Hunter demos, where it's like, hey, you have these 3 quests that you can go and hunt the monsters.
Yeah.
And you kind of get into this mindset where it's just like, I got to go and complete the objective. And they make the timer really short. I believe it's 20 minutes for each quest. So you don't really have a chance to mess around. But kind of as I was doing the quests multiple times, I kept seeing new things. I kept having new moments, interactions with the monsters and with the environment that just didn't exist in past
More
Monster
like
Hunter
monsters
games.
teaming up?
Well, monsters like fighting each other. So the last quest that you can do, the Anjanath. One of my favorite moments of the whole thing was I was fighting the Anjanath. The fight kind of moved us
around
into this forest, and it charges forward, and it breaks open this like cave. Essentially, it opened up a cave, and inside the cave, there were these bugs that I could trigger to blind it, but there was also like a monster sleeping in there, and so the monster's like, "Wait, you woke me up," and then gets out and then fights.
It was the big. Was it the boss from the first?
It was the first one.
Yeah,
the Jaggers.
Okay, yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. And just messing around with so one of the new things is mantles. These sort of cloaks, essentially, that you can wrap around your
I didn't
hunters.
really understand that super well yet.
Right. And that's, I want to get there, too. These mantles that you can kind of wrap around your character, and it took me a while to kind of find cool applications for them. Like the Rocksteady mantle is just nice because you don't react as much when you're getting hit. But like the glider mantle. So in the map where you're fighting the Baroth, there's this gap where you like basically have to climb down, go over, and then climb up. And when you have a short time limit and you really want to kill something, or you just want to be cool, I had the glider mantle equipped, and I ran and I just skipped all of that. Or I just went right over. And that's really, really useful on top of making it easier to mount things. And I think that is the thing about Monster Hunter World for me, is all the different actions that I can have.
Yeah, see, I didn't know like any of that stuff. Right. I don't know the mechanics that well yet, so I was like, what's going on?
Right, and it doesn't...
I was like, oh, I'll kill that guy.
It doesn't go out of its way to highlight that stuff. Something that I do think is very cool and very useful and a smart decision is you have this slinger, and this slinger you can use to grapple onto specific points, but you can also load it up and do a bunch of different things. Anytime I would pick something up, it would pop up a window and be like, hey, this is what this does. Try it with this. And I really like that.
Yeah.
I think that's nice rather than having to like go into the inventory and stuff. But... yeah, it's something, where you said you just solo, you went through all the quests and everything. I would recommend just experimenting, just trying stuff. Even on a really basic level, like this is a simple example. Fighting the Baroth, it has this big, like, rocky head, and it'll smash into things, and you can use that to your advantage. It'll knock down the monster, but it'll also create platforms, which you can then use to jump and mount on him.
That is cool.
Yeah. But in the last fight, I'm sure you saw this against the Anjanath, where the Rathalos came in. Like, I just love the idea now that these fights are... you don't necessarily know what's going to happen, and other monsters are making things way more complicated, whether it's them preying on a weaker monster or being like a huge threat to you and interrupting your quest. I think all of that stuff is just so cool. But on a fundamental level, it is still just Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So you're messing around with the different weapons, Brad. Something that I think is a little bit frustrating probably is, like, while you can go into a training area and do like basic combos with all the weapons and stuff, it doesn't always, I think some of the more advanced weapons, it doesn't do a great job of explaining, like, here's how this works. Here's the idea behind this. Here's how you apply those ideas.
Yeah.
Did you find it pretty easy to jump between weapons?
No. I was super confused by a lot of the weapons.
Okay.
I used the jaw sword or something like that. It's like the standard huge big sword.
The great sword.
The great sword. Yeah, whatever. I used that. And I was like, okay, let's try a different one. Then I used the gun lance.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, it's a gun with a lance. That sounds really cool. And I used it, and I was like trying to shoot some guy a little distance away, and it didn't do anything. I was like, wait, what's going on? I'm like, does this not shoot or something like that? And I was like, I don't know how to reload this thing.
Sure.
So but when I get closer, it would kind of hit him. I was really confused about how all those mechanics worked. Then I had that, we were talking about this, that sword and shield thing that turns into an axe.
Yeah,
and it's like talking about, you got to charge it. I'm like, what do I have to charge it for? I don't get it.
So my experience with Monster Hunter, where I'm coming from, is playing those games. I would try different weapons, and I feel like a lot of times it'd be like, I just feel like I'm not getting this.
Yeah.
And then I eventually landed on the greatsword. I'm like, okay, I think I kind of understand the concept behind this. I like hitting those charge slashes. It feels really good.
It does feel good.
And I just kind of just stuck with that. It's pretty the vast majority of my Monster Hunter playtime has been with the greatsword. And so with Monster Hunter World last night, I was trying to figure out things that previously didn't make sense to me, that I didn't go through the effort to learn. And I think both the strength and a weakness of Monster Hunter is, what I like about those different weapons is, I feel like in a lot of games, right? Any game where it's like you have a huge array of weapons that you can use, and that's so important. What that essentially boils down to is, all right, they have different moves, they have different properties, they might have different like elemental types or whatever, but there's kind of like this same pattern for weapons in a lot of these games. And with Monster Hunter, it's like, oh man, the whole idea behind this, like the whole thesis behind this weapon, I've never seen before. Like the insect glaive is a really cool, just like on a conceptual level, a really cool weapon. So what it does,
I don't know what that is.
Very brief explanation. So it's this twin blade that you have, and it slashes really quickly, and you can jump in the air really easily with it. But it has another component to it called a kinsect, and it's this insect that you can shoot out, that you can send out, and it will harvest this juice essentially, and it'll bring that juice back, and it will give you a different buff. Whoa. But depending on where you shoot the kinsect at the monster, it will give you a different buff. So this is true for large monsters. So if you shoot it like at a large monster's feet, it'll give you a speed buff. If you shoot it at its body, it'll give you a defense buff. And if you shoot it at the head, it'll give you an attack buff, and the attack buff makes you stronger and gives you like additional animations so you can hit more.
Additional animations.
Right. And so you're like going around, you want to get all three of these buffs, you want to bring your kinsect back, and then you want to do it. And I had never really...
That's an interesting weapon.
Experimented with the insect glaive before. Like I was using it for the first time, and I was just like, okay, like I'm not doing super great with this, but I think the idea of the weapon is so cool. I'm not going to go into it, but I think like the charge blade is the same way. I think the gun lance is the same blade. Like the way these weapons feel is so cool. Brad, question for you.
Yes.
I think this game is absolutely gorgeous. Like I really do. I love like when you go out like into the marsh, for example, how like thick and dense the grass is. Like when you run by a bush, like birds are flying out. It feels like a place where like wondrous creatures live. How do you think it looks? Was there anything confusing or annoying to you?
I thought it looked kind of bad at points graphically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, I'm playing on 4K TV and everything like that. Does it have 4K? Do we know that?
So it gave me, when I was playing it on my 4K TV, it said it had HDR options.
Yeah, I had that.
It's 4K.
Like, for instance, there's monsters in the background, and their animations were really
weird
and slow. I was like, why is this happening right now?
Yeah.
I don't know. It looked weird. I don't know. I mean, I haven't played a lot of Monster Hunter, so I'm not sure like what the standard is for those games. I wasn't blown away by it. Sometimes I thought it looked kind of weird, especially the monsters in the background.
When you boot up the beta, you get 3 different options. You can prioritize resolution, you can prioritize frame rate, and you can prioritize graphics. And my understanding, based on the description, is like the density of things in the environment. Which one did you pick?
Graphics.
Okay.
I don't know. Okay. It didn't look like that impressive to me.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. No, I thought it looked really, really good. But it might just be that, like, the Monster Hunter I played before this was a little bit of double cross on Switch.
Sure.
So
I
don't know if it's that.
I mean, I didn't notice probably as many things as you, like how you're noticing like the environment like reacting in different ways, like birds. Like I didn't really notice any of that.
Yeah.
I was just trying to. I don't think I was focused on it as much either.
Sure.
I was just trying to figure out how these weapons work most of the time.
Right. Like you already had like enough of a barrier to climb with the weapons. Something that I think a lot of people were curious about, at least I was curious about it, is there are a lot of changes, just like quality of life changes, I guess, with Monster Hunter, where like you can walk and drink a potion now. You can fast travel between camps, which is amazing. You can change equipment at a camp. You can eat food at a camp. Like all of this stuff that I was worried was, I don't know, going to ruin Monster Hunter in some way,
it too much.
Or yeah, I guess that's it. I
you
guess oversimplifying it. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because I still am like nowhere near a Monster Hunter expert. Like I too am casual, but I like fighting the Anjanath, and I really thought the Anjanath had like a great difficulty to it. Like fighting it solo, I was like, this is still tense. Like, no, I'm not wiping. No, I'm not being carded, but I still think fighting it is really tense. I'm enjoying figuring out its moves. I'm enjoying the way the fight is evolving over time. Like, it felt really good to me. And so I guess my question to you is, was there enough there in the beta for Bradley Ellis to really want to dig into this?
I mean, yeah, this is the time. I've been waiting, like, real deal console, let's go. I don't want to play it on a handheld. It just doesn't work for me necessarily. Like, this is what I wanted. This is the time. There's at least somewhat of a story.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, let's do it. This is the time.
Yeah.
Man, but you mentioning, like, enjoying the enemies' moves, like figuring out all their moves and kind of stuff like that. I feel like I just spent so much time figuring out how some of these weapons worked.
Right.
I might have just overlooked a lot of that.
Sure.
I feel like when I do understand that more, I'll appreciate a lot more probably of it.
Yeah, and I think one of the big benefits for me, and I enjoy games like this where it feels like there's almost this limitless pool of stuff that you can learn. That's what makes streaming it so fun. Like regardless of the weapon that I picked, regardless of the thing that I was fighting, regardless of the map that I was in, you know, so many people had so many different tips, and it's fun kind of in real time seeing those tips, trying them out.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, to really boil it down and be reductive, I feel like Monster Hunter and Monster Hunter World right now is just a series of small aha moments. And so, like, I'm excited to play with you.
Oh, learn. Like that's what Monster Hunter is to me, is playing with your friends.
Yeah, definitely. But I am sorry, I've kind of not done a great job of including you in this conversation. But you mentioned when Brad was talking about capturing for Ultimate that you don't have a ton of Monster Hunter experience. How do you feel about World? Is it something you're interested in? Are you curious? Are you intimidated? How do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I've always been both curious and intimidated by Monster Hunter. I think, I did put a little bit of time when they had a demo out for Wii.
Like I put it try? Was that what it was?
Yeah. But I tried out the demo there, and I think one of the biggest things that had like kind of put me off at that point was just the way that like there's such small zones.
Yeah.
And it's like you just like, you know, loading screen, like things were all kind of broken apart.
That is something that I didn't even mention. In the World, I mean, the map, you can see it, it's still divided into zones, but there's no seam there. The monster's not knocking you back into another zone. You have to go through those quick loading screens. Like it's all seamless, which is nice. Yeah.
So I think between that and the fact that like it didn't really feel like I had a lot there to tell me like what do you need me to do right now? Like what am I supposed to be doing in this game exactly?
Right.
So like I never really got over that hump to like really get into it, but I've always been sort of attracted by the concept of it.
Yeah, how's that not so cool?
And the co-op, like the feel like, oh, I really should be playing this with other people, and who am I going to play it with? Yeah, that's been an intimidating factor too.
Sure.
But I always appreciated, like I watched some like the Japanese Dev Diaries and stuff when I was just a GT, and I was just like would pull every video off the internet to put on game trailers. Mm-hmm. And like those things where they talked about designing the creatures and creating the sounds and like all the weird animals they would record sounds from and like blend together and stuff like that.
Right. Something that I didn't mention that I actually haven't seen, but I saw someone else mention that I think is so cool is really not just treating these monsters like, hey, things that you're just killing and getting loot for so you can get better armor and weapons, like actually treating them like real creatures. Apparently, like the first monster that you fight, the Great Jagras, you can see its entire day. Like you can, if you just follow it around, you'll see it move from place to place. You'll see it go and feed its young. Like you will see its routine. You will see it existing in this environment and not just waiting for you to come up and whack it.
Monster Hunter Shenmue.
Awesome. Yeah. And I will say, though, something I'm disappointed by, at least right now, and my feelings could change, is you have these scout flies.
And I did see Bill complaining about them.
Yeah. The thing that I don't like, because it just feels too simple, is what you can do is as you're going around, you might see like a carcass that the monster recently ate, and you can go and you can investigate it, and it will like fill up this bar. And the more that you fill up the bar, like you'll get to a point where it's like, okay, you filled up the bar. Here's exactly where the monster is. And I like the idea of tracking a monster, trying to figure out where it is. And I saw somebody on Twitter say that like, oh, you can identify the monsters by their individual footprints, which I think is cool. But in practice, what it felt like to me is I was just kind of running around. These clues were all over the place. They weren't hard to find. Just hitting the button, seeing the bar fill up, and then it's like, okay, there it is exactly. Like there really wasn't an element of tracking involved. And I can imagine from a like design perspective, you spend so much time fighting the monster and maybe other monsters are coming in. Like that's such a big component that maybe you can't make that more involved. But just kind of on its own, I didn't think it was that interesting.
That'd be cool if there's monsters later on that you can't do that with or something.
Sure. Or they're better at covering their tracks. So they're trying to deceive you. Like,
I hope like high level monsters have like different mechanics like that.
Right. And that's why I'm like hesitant, I think, to be a little bit condemning on it, because like you can just envision scenarios where it's like, oh, this monster led me to something else and put me in a bad situation. Blood, do you think you'll play Monster Hunter World?
I mean, it's really going to depend on like what's happening around that release.
Sure.
I haven't.
Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah. I haven't kept a good look at release dates for the new year yet. But it could be something I could dabble in.
Okay. Blood. I would like to have every ally in weekly hunts.
Yeah.
I would like us to be like.
Well, doing it Sunday mornings doesn't help me at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're very busy Sunday mornings. It's just also. Like, I feel like Sunday morning is so good with it. Like, waking up. Like, I was dead tired from PSX, and I thought, I was like, I'm not going to have any energy to stream. And just sipping coffee, talking to people about Monster Hunter, being excited. It felt very
it's like, we already know what weapon Huber's going to use, or at least two of them. Axe and hammer.
Yeah. Hammer users are so useful.
Like, he's going to use one of the big boys.
Oh, yeah.
Because it feels good to use a big boy in this game, which I love.
Yeah, I know it's ranged, but I think he might like the heavy bowgun, too.
He might like it, but he can't... Like, Huber is a simple man. He likes big,
he's a simple, complex
heavy...
man.
Yeah, simple in some ways, complex in others, I guess, but he likes big, heavy weapons.
As long as we're talking about Huber and Monster Hunter, what I can envision is, like, once he gets comfortable with, and I bet he'll get comfortable with it right away, with mounting monsters, I can just see him... jumping off every single possible surface in the game and just like constantly getting on it, stabbing it, bringing it down. Like I can see him being really
I'm excited for our team composition when we figure out how to do this.
Yeah. I am too. I'm curious. Like you said with Huber, you can kind of predict like Jones is gonna
use a bow.
For sure.
Ian's gonna use two daggers.
Yep, dual blades. Yeah, he did that during the stream. But I think you'll have several.
Yeah,
I bet you
I
will.
like to experiment a lot more.
Yeah.
You and me seem to both do that kind of thing.
Still
Like when I
rad.
saw you could get armor that gives you additional threat or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool.
Yep. The Challenger Mantle, that is called. Yeah. I just have to say, I don't know if it's just because of the excitement of the beta or what it is. I don't know. I really fell in love with it. I couldn't stop playing it. I had such fun. Like it is the game I want the most, I think, like in 2018 right now.
And it's close too.
I know, it's so close. That's the satisfying thing. But I'm really curious. There's a lot of talk about how well this is going to do and how people are going to respond to it, and if it's going to please longtime people and new-time people. So, like, I'm curious. I'm curious if it's going to be a bang or if it's just going to be what it is. So
seems to be a lot of buzz around it though right now, which is good. A lot of buzz.
It was like the beta was like #1 on Twitch.
Wow,
for at least
really?
For at least a little while.
That's impressive.
I wasn't following it super closely, but
nice.
Yeah, we'll see. But it's this time of the show, and we do a little bit of a game. We do a little bit of a game when we get about halfway through the show. One, to mix things up, and two, because somebody will say something that will, in the Frame Trap lore, will trigger the demons of the Frame Trap realm. And we have a little bit of a twist today in a lot of regards. And so what we do is we play a little trivia game that is video game related. And Blood, the demons had a different word that was going to be the trigger today. But when you said speed card, that offended their sensibilities so much that they just switched it to speed card.
Oh, no.
So you have now gotten us caught in the Frame Trap realm.
I hate being caught in the frame traps.
Yeah, well, it's unavoidable. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. With today's Caught in a Frame Trap, we're actually doing a totally different style of game, and I hope you and the internet doesn't hate me too much for this, but I couldn't resist. We're doing a different style of game for Caught in a Frame Trap. But before we get there, the people who are going to send us their aid to help us get out of the Frame Trap realm are our sponsors, and we've got a lot of new ones today.
Cool.
That I'm excited to get through. Our first two are sponsors that we've had on the show before, and thank you for your continued support. The first one is Greg, TheDarkKnight Kettering.
Yeah.
We finally met him.
Yeah. Met him in person. It's great.
Yeah.
Good guy.
He is a very good guy. Brad, it's funny that you're on the show because he plays patron D&D with me, and I feel like sometimes he kind of falls into the Nicator position where like he wants to do something that like makes sense, but the rest of the party doesn't. And so he reminds me of you a little bit. But thank you, Greg, for being a sponsor. Our next sponsor is Elsewhere Presents, the Sonic podcast. And I really love this. Elsewhere Presents always gives me like a new description for the show, and it's very fun. I haven't listened to the podcast yet, but it sounds delightful. Elsewhere Presents Sonic the Podcast. It's a Sonic the Hedgehog podcast from another dimension, a world where Sonic started out as a tabletop game in the 70s. There's an entire religion built around him, and nobody remembers the year 2006. Also, there is an Easy Allies in this world, a group of hardcore Sonic fans, complete with their own original characters and fan fiction. The Lords of Yonder would like to thank the Easy Allies of your world for helping me spread the word about this other realm. To show that gratitude, they've beamed images of the Sonic OCs of these otherworldly allies to the mind of a mad artist, and would like to share these interpretations of those images with the Frame Trap audience. If these images delight you in the slightest, please consider giving Elsewhere Presents Sonic the Podcast a listen, and follow us on Twitter at Elsewhere Podcast. Join host Griff Newcastle on his journey down the spiritually transcendent road that is loving Sonic. And as before, thank you, demons. So what he's referencing there is at the PSX meetup Saturday night, he comes up to me and he goes, I drew the allies as Sonic characters.
I saw this.
And I've kind of ruined the surprise a little bit because I went and I showed a bunch of the other allies. If you watch the upcoming Easy Update, I show it off on there. But it's wonderful. They're really hilarious interpretations of us as Sonic characters. Bloods is probably my favorite. I don't know if you've seen it.
No, I did not.
But what we're going to do, kind of the idea that we have, is on Easy Update, I kind of just show the pictures. It's hard to get a real good look at them. But I'm going to show some of those interpretations on this episode, and then in subsequent episodes, we'll show the rest.
Great.
So look forward to that. Those will probably go on the screen right now. Our next sponsor, much like Greg, doesn't have anything to promote, just happy to support the show or happy to have you. Nate Kiellach.
Nate Kiellach.
I hope I pronounced your last name right. If I didn't, please let me know. And known on Twitch as Smoalgate. 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 Our next sponsor feels like maybe the most appropriate Frame Trap sponsor we've ever had.
Anime or fighting games.
You'll know why in just a second. Zen Market is our next sponsor, brand new sponsor. Zen Market, based in Osaka, Japan.
Here we go, baby.
Whoa.
Is a shopping proxy service that has been helping people get stuff from Japan since 2014. There are a handful of places online to buy marked up Japanese imports. But with Zen Market, you can go to the source and buy new and used goods directly from Japanese online stores. Additionally, you can bid in real time on Yahoo Auctions, Japan's biggest and busiest auction site. Find Japan-exclusive games, consoles, anime, toys, amiibo, figures, clothing, accessories, and whatever else you want. Zen Market staff can even help you search for the more elusive items on your list. The only fee is a 300 yen charge per item purchase. That's less than $3. That's it. There is no commission based on the price of goods.
Wow.
You can shop, manage your purchases, consolidate items, and organize international shipping right from your account on Zen Market's website. New signups will receive a 300 yen credit, so your first purchase skips the service fee altogether. Sign up for a free account on zenmarket.jp and start browsing Japanese stores today.
Whoa.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
Zen Market even went an extra mile. They actually created a landing page on Zen Market for Easy Allies fans. They're like, sometimes people come to the site and it's a little bit hard for them to navigate around. And kind of my impression of this landing page that they created for us is they're like, hey, we think this is stuff that your listeners would be interested in. So
yes, I'm interested.
That was very, very cool and very nice of them to do that. So thank you, Zen Market. And our last sponsor of the day has a great name. Grandmaster Pizza.
That's a great name. That is a good name.
Here's the pitch from Grandmaster Pizza. Man, you gotta check those sweet vids out from my boy Grandmaster Pizza. I gotta tell you, these vids, sweet. So sweet, in fact, that after you listen to this great podcast that I'm hosting the heck out of with my most splendid guests who are just about guesting up a storm, you should go check them vids out. Search Grandmaster Pizza on YouTube for some super swimmingly swell gaming vids. P.S. There is some colorful language, so watch out, people. P.P.S. Merry Christmas, my pepper bronies. May your holidays be as golden as the irresistible crust of a well-made pizza.
Dude.
Which keeps your cheese and toppings, whatever they may be, safe and cozy. P.P.P.S. How about that Masahana Ben?
That lived up to the name perfectly.
Yeah, it did. That was great.
Well done.
That was very good. Here's my channel URL and a few other places to find me. You can find Grandmaster Pizza at youtube.com/GrandmasterPizza, twitter.com/GrandmasterPizza. So for YouTube, it's Grandmaster. For Twitter, it's Grandmasta. And then patreon.com/GrandmasterPizza. And those are the sponsors. Thank you guys so much. This is actually the most sponsors we've had.
Thank you.
Frame Trap, which is really cool.
Thank you for supporting the show.
Yeah, thank you for supporting the show. And now we've got the ludicrous caught in Frame Trap for today.
Oh, jeez.
So normally what I do is I come up with a list of multiple choice questions, and I ask you guys to answer. The first person to whisper into the mic HOTTAKE gets to answer. If they get it right, they get a point. If they get it wrong, the other person gets a free answer. Not exactly like that now. You're still going to have to whisper into the mic HOTTAKE before you answer, and you're still going to have to listen to the whole thing. But what I'm going to do is I have 3 questions for each of you. Oh. So I'm going to do one of you first, and then I'm going to do the other one of you second. Each of the 3 questions is true or false. You have to pick one. And what the Caught in a Frame Trap is today is this Sonic the Hedgehog character real or just made up? So you're going to have to go true if you think it is an actual real Sonic the Hedgehog character, or false if you think it is not a real official Sonic the Hedgehog character. All right, who wants to go first?
I need a pen. I got to get a pen.
Okay. Here, you just take this one.
Okay. This is an incredibly funny caught in a frame trap.
You want to go first?
Sure.
All right, Brad. Your first character, which you will need to decide, is either true or false. That's what I want you to say. Marin the raccoon.
HOTTAKE.
Yes.
False?
Incorrect.
Damn it.
That is real.
Raccoon. Do they have the game, the source that they're in?
Yeah, so what I did is, and I was just using like quick wiki research for this, so I hope this is all right. But the first Sonic property that Marin the raccoon appeared in was Sonic Rush Adventure.
Oh,
what?
Man.
What is that?
I'm pulling from all over the place.
Is that a Game Boy Advance game?
I believe it is a DS game.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay. I'm not getting that.
All right, so
Okay.
no points so far.
Which I have played, but I did not remember that character at all.
Next character. True or false? Oilet the hummingbird.
HOTTAKE.
Yeah.
True.
Incorrect.
Damn it!
That one I found on DeviantArt.
These all suck.
Yeah.
Wait, they're
On
DeviantArt ones?
No, just that one.
Okay.
The other,
You're throwing me fanfics?
The other false ones I made up. Yeah.
Okay.
But I did use DeviantArt for inspiration. Yes. All right. The last one.
Okay.
Nicole the HoloLinks.
Dude, okay, HOTTAKE.
Yeah.
That's got to be true.
That's true.
Yes!
Yeah. So Nicole the HoloLinks. I don't know anything about this character or any of these characters, but my understanding is that Nicole the HoloLinks comes from the comics.
They're all terrible, though, so it's fine.
Okay. So, Brad, that's 1 point. So, Blood, in order to beat Brad, you have to get more than one correct.
Okay.
Are you ready?
No, but okay.
All right. Your first one is Guston the Toucan.
Why is it so hard to know? I'm going to try false.
You are correct. That is not real.
Tied up already.
Guston is not a real
But it could be real. It could be 100% real.
Yeah. All right. Your next question. Your next character is Agunis the Rhino. Once again, that is Agunis the Rhino.
Agunis?
I am Agunis.
False?
True. There's another comic character.
Comic. Oh, okay.
All right. The last one is Ray the Flying Squirrel. Ray the Flying Squirrel.
I mean, that one sounds like a shoo-in, but I'm going to say true.
You're right. You're right. First appeared in Sega Sonic the Hedgehog.
Sega Sonic
Yeah, an
the
arcade
Hedgehog?
game. I believe it is an arcade game that did not come out of it.
Okay.
Ray the Flying Squirrel is real. Blood, you did it. You were able. I don't know if this is like praise or criticism. You were able to correctly identify which Sonic characters were real and which were fake.
Just get us out of this frame trap, man.
Yes. So now you have the honor of saying a phrase, doing an action, whatever you think is strong enough to pull us out of this demonic realm.
Oh, boy. I hadn't considered it.
Sorry. I have to say, not to put any more pressure on you, but just based on audience feedback, you have some of people's favorite.
Oh, hell yeah.
Getting out of caught in frame traps. Your Tiger Knee is legendary.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to throw this coaster like a discus.
That was perfect. We didn't just get out of it.
I didn't think you were gonna actually throw it.
we have done damage to the demons in the frame trap.
That hit the baseboard. It's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Blood is a ninja. He got it.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh, spooky.
Spooky?
Oh, spooky.
Did you like that? Did you like the
it
true
was
false?
hilarious because I did not expect you to tell me to name. Like, I hate Sonic characters usually, and for you to do this to me is super funny.
I have to say that I am a little bit proud. I think Guston the toucan is like pretty great.
That is
I
like toucans, so that's really good.
All right, Brad. The next thing on the list that is like killing me that I haven't played myself is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC.
Mm-hmm. So that came out, what was it, Thursday night? Shadow dropped.
Yeah.
Out now.
Yeah.
I was like, wow.
Story-driven Zelda DLC Shadow drop.
I haven't played all of it. I've probably played 3 hours of it. Mm-hmm. So it takes place after if you do all the 4 beasts within the game. Mm-hmm. Then they go, hey, go back to the shrine that you started the game at. And they're like, here, you're going to do these trials, blah, blah, blah. And you get this this weird weapon. And they're like, you have to go to these 4 points in the map and kill all the guys here. It's on the Great Plateau. All of them are on the Great Plateau. But the weapon you get kills everything in one hit.
Oh,
it needs to charge for a few seconds, though. But the catch is you die in one hit, no matter what.
If you're using it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and you have to use it.
Okay.
But you actually could use your bow, I found out also, which helps a lot. So you go around to these locations with bokoblins running around, mostly some moblins. You kill them at all 4 locations, then these shrines pop up near the beasts. And each one of these is Cass. So he's talking about how he wants to finish a ballad about certain the champions that his master is writing. And at each of these points, there's 3 separate maps. And you have to find, with like a trial on each of them. They're essentially the trials that the champions went through to become champions. So you have to do these trials. The game does not tell you, like when you open up your map, where they are exactly. So what I did is there are 3 pillars with the pictures. I took pictures of each of them. And you have to track them down. And essentially, so for some of them, maybe you have to kill a bunch of guys. Mm-hmm. Or you have to run, a lot of them are running through rings. So I was like, this is very Superman 64 right here.
Yeah.
But not terrible.
Okay.
Not terrible. So, but then when you do all these brand new shrines, and some of these shrines, you also had 1 hit to do.
Yeah.
Now, one of them, Ben, reminded me of going through a Super Mario level or like a Castlevania level. There's giant spike traps swinging around, like conveyor belts of spikes. Like you're going to go through this gauntlet of traps. Yeah. You get hit once, it's over, man. So you're going to die a lot, which is cool because, I mean, you don't die a lot in that game usually.
Well,
the game gives you a lot of opportunities, especially later on when you understand how things work.
When I think about Breath of the Wild, my favorite experience with Breath of the Wild was Eventide Island, and how daunting that challenge felt. But in spite of how daunting it was and what it did to you, I always felt like I could get through it. You know, I tried it multiple times, but I always felt like I was just getting one step closer to getting through it. So when you're dying a lot here, does it feel like that? Does it feel reasonable? Do you feel like you're learning, or is it just kind of frustrating?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it can be frustrating dying sometimes when you just get hit when you don't see a guy or something like that. You're like,
sure.
Oh, yeah. But I thought the shrines we're going through was really fun. I mean, I like doing shrines because I like the puzzles and everything like that.
Yeah, the shrines are great.
So there's new shrines, which is good. And when you complete the 3 shrines for a specific champion or whatever, you get a little story, a context about them, like how they become the champion, stuff like that, little story thing. I've only done 2 so far, so I haven't finished everything yet. But apparently when you finish everything, you get the motorcycle. Which I really want.
Yeah, I want the motorcycle as well. Heard from people that it's not great.
The motorcycle?
I've tempered my expectations a little bit because I was so excited for it when they revealed it during the Game Awards. But a very big important question from me to you is one of the biggest reasons that I'm excited about playing through Champions Ballad is learning more about the champions. Characters that I really liked in Breath of the Wild and definitely wanted to know more than they gave me. Do you feel like that happens here?
Yeah, you learn a little more. Like, each individual thing is the characters with Princess Zelda and their interactions with the princess. And there's some events that happen. And some of them, I am slightly disappointed. I was hoping for a little more, maybe. I was hoping for a little more grand story so far.
Yeah.
I haven't ran into that. It feels like nice little side quests right now.
Okay.
It doesn't feel like a nice continuation of the story or something like that.
Okay.
I haven't finished it though, so I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm having fun doing it.
But you do feel like you're learning things about the champions.
Yeah, you learn more about the champions, which is nice.
Okay. Next question. With these shrines that you're doing, you're going around and you're doing these different objectives. Obviously, you have this new weapon that kind of is...
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I forgot to mention. Once you do the original 4 things where you battle the guys, you don't have to use that anymore. You can use your normal stuff.
Do you feel like that kind of thing, that gimmick, makes this feel substantially different from core Breath of the Wild, or do you feel like essentially this is an extension of that game?
Extension.
Okay.
It doesn't feel completely different. Like Breath of the Wild, a lot about is solving the puzzles out in the world.
Yeah.
Sometimes the world itself is the kind of quote unquote dungeon of the game. I feel like, and this just adds on to that more.
You did every shrine in Breath of the Wild, right?
Correct.
Okay, so you're somebody that's played a lot of Breath of the Wild. Is this different enough for you? Were you satisfied by it?
Like it's well, I haven't beat it yet. I'm having fun doing it, but it hasn't blown me away.
Okay.
Which what I was hoping for, obviously.
Okay.
But it's good. It's nice little context here and there. I like doing the shrines. It's fun.
Sure.
So I'll see how it pans out at the end.
Would you be open to more DLC for Breath of the Wild down the line?
I mean, it just depends how substantial it is.
Sure.
Like I would want, if they did another DLC, it would have to be story kind of thing, more real deal story.
Well, I was thinking too, I just figured that since there were those places where you could kind of see beyond the map, that
I mean, I was hoping that
too. We would go to a completely new region, and so it was a little disappointing to hear that
like no new environment really yet. Which
the fact that it's
weird.
all taking place in the Great Plateau is a little.
Oh yeah, just that part. Like you go throughout the world, but it's all stuff you've been at before. Gotcha. Yeah, it's no new land, which is kind of like you have this huge world that you could do stuff with, and they just didn't take it anywhere else.
Yeah. I have to tell you, I haven't done either the first DLC or the second DLC. It's something that I'm a little bit worried about. I really believe that I am going to go through and play those DLC, but I really love Breath of the Wild. It was a very special game to me where I just enjoyed getting lost in it, and I'm kind of worried about getting burned out. Like, I would hate to get to the end of the second DLC and be like, oh man, like, this extra stuff kind of... took the specialness out of that initial adventure, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't burned me out. The first DLC, for example, the challenge room things, I really liked it. I thought it was really fun, actually. It was, cool. Like you were talking about Eventide Island, it's like that.
Yeah.
But it just gets crazy. Sure. You have to use all your knowledge throughout the whole game.
Did you enjoy those challenges more than what you've been presented in Champions Ballad so far?
I don't know. I like the shrines. I like doing the puzzles. Like that's a part of Zelda I really like, is going through the puzzles and everything like that. They're just both real different.
Are there any more motion control puzzles?
Barely, but they weren't. It wasn't like the golf swing or anything like that, where you like super focused. Like it wasn't anything crazy like that.
All right.
You're not rotating a staircase or anything.
Blood, what's your shrine count on Breath of the Wild?
Oh,
roughly.
I don't know what the actual count is at the moment, because it's been a while since I've actually been able to boot it up.
Are you excited about Champions Ballad? Is that something you want to get to?
Oh yeah, I'll definitely get to it. I mean, I'm just, now that I'm through with my reviews for the year, you know, like Zelda, getting back into Zelda and finishing that up is the next thing on my list. So, it's funny because at the beginning of the year when it came out, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to, explore this whole world, and I don't care if I'm still playing it at Christmas, and here we are. I'm about to still be playing it at Christmas, but, I've only done 3 of the 4 Divine Beasts, you know, because that's just, and now because I do want to get to that and to play more Persona, like, I probably will be a bit more focused on doing quests and side quests rather than just, like, wandering all over every single mountain, but yeah, definitely gonna put some more time into it.
Yeah, the DLC adds a few items too, along with additional armor. There's new armor you can like track down. Like essentially, if you haven't gotten any of the DLC armor, is you go somewhere and you read like notes about how to get something. It gives you quests to find armor. Like it's scattered throughout the world in chests. Yeah. So, example, there's the Phantom Ganon outfit from Ocarina of Time.
Very nice.
That you can get stuff like that. The other DLC before it had Tingle.
Yeah.
Or the Knights from Spirit Tracks, I think. You could wear their armor and stuff like that.
I just love Phantom Ganon.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah, I did mess about a little bit with some of those extra quests they added with the first DLC. Mm-hmm. And what I liked was that like they gave you some pretty cryptic clues.
It's just like that again.
Where these things are, and like, okay, I think I get what this is. Yeah, and trying to look around the map and figure out what it's referring to.
Yeah, this one. Some of it's a little more straightforward. Like one of the things is go to Hyrule Castle. It'll be around this area in Hyrule Castle or something like that. But a nice addition is they added an item or a saddle you could put on your horse and something else. I forgot what it was. But essentially...
the ancient...
Yeah, you're able to call your horse anywhere you're at now.
Nice.
So you don't have to run to the stable. You can just push it on a button.
Oh, wow.
So, and you could give it an upgrade so it gets like 2 extra boosts or something like that.
Okay.
But you can't use it in the desert. Like in the normal game, you can't use a horse. But it is nice not having to walk to a stable.
Is that something that
improvement
only applies to that saddle, or is that just in general? Like
it's just the saddle. You have to use the saddle. It's like ancient armored saddle or something like that.
Okay.
Blood, earlier in the show, I described that moment where like, the last 3 months of my life have been just racing games. Like you've been doing a slew of them. I have to tell you, I was on my Switch a lot playing Xenoblade for review, and every once in a while, like very late at night, I would see you playing Super Mario Odyssey, and I just had in my head like, Blood's treating himself. Yeah. He's just kicking back.
He's having a good
hanging
time.
out in New Donk City. Yeah. Is that kind of what the mentality was there with Odyssey?
Yeah. Well, I also had there was a little bit of a crunch at the end because we were talking about it on Friend Code too.
Oh, sure.
And so like I literally like beat Odyssey and then had to drive here to record Friend Code. So there's still some post-game stuff I haven't gotten to, and that like I haven't really gone to the dark side of the moon. Because again, like with Zelda, I'm like just having enough fun exploring and figuring out where stuff is in the worlds that I've already been to.
Yeah. You were talking about, kind of extending out Breath of the Wild and playing it over a long period of time, and you reminded me of a very specific point in my life. I don't know if you guys had this experience either, but when I was very, very, very young, I was limited with the games that I had, either just due to rental times or, whatever my parents gave me or whatever it was. And I was also, my attention span wasn't great. I would get stuck a lot more easily and all of this stuff. And I remember playing Ocarina of Time, which was really my first Zelda. And like, it took me like a year, an entire year. And while I enjoy binging games and playing a lot of the games and finishing multiple games a month, I also kind of miss the joy that limitations beyond your control can give you, because like finishing a game felt like a huge achievement. Like I had just evolved as a person. And it also, I think, kind of made it feel like a journey, and it made it feel like I was spending more time really appreciating each individual area. I mean, like, I feel like Ocarina of Time is burned into my brain a lot more deeply than other games, just because of the sheer number of months that I spent just running around in it. So I miss that sometimes.
Oh, yeah. Like, I remember when I beat Zelda 1 the first time when I was younger. Man, I had to go through, like, so many steps to beat that game. Nintendo power. Yeah. Calling the Nintendo hotline.
Did you draw your own maps?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Oh, yeah. Had to, man. Because I could just look it up.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Blood, this is just on me, but I feel like for just personally, you win the award for what is this game on Frame Trap, and that is Spin Tires. So what is Spin Tires?
Oh, you went Spin Tires. Okay.
Oh, no, wait. I think I wrote down Spin Tires, but you said Danger Zone.
Yeah.
Let's talk about
What's Danger Zone?
What's Danger Zone?
Okay. Either way.
That was my mistake.
So Danger Zone, I did a stream, was it last week? I guess it was last week. But yeah, I've had it kind of on my backlog for a bit. It's been out for, I don't know, say a month or two maybe. But it's from some of the original Criterion team members. And so Alex Ward and those guys, they have a small studio now called Three Fields Entertainment. And so the entire game is just Burnout Crash Junctions. It's just Crash mode. And it's like $15, I guess. And it's super simple. Like there's no music. Everything is kind of in a test chamber. And like it almost literally looks like they just lifted it out of Burnout 3. Like the technology looks about the same. Like in terms of making this stuff how it looks.
Okay.
I'm not even sure that the cars crash as much or crumple as much as Burnout 3 does. So I was kind of not sure because they also did Dangerous Golf, and like I know they like did some patches and stuff afterwards, but like when we first played it was like Dangerous Golf didn't really hit with us.
I don't think I played it beyond what we did, but I was not feeling that game. But
this is, it's just pretty much straight up that, and I was nervous about it, but once I started getting into it, like it just feels like this great like no pressure casual like thing you would pick up and pass the controller around like when you go home for the holidays or something. It's just because you can get through a level pretty easily, but the real challenge is to like get all of those pickups.
Right.
They had little cash bonus pickups, and so like if you get all of the bronze and all the silver pickups, then the gold pickup appears. But you also have the the crash breaker things where you basically like push the button and it like creates an explosion and sends everything around you flying. But it also gives you that momentum to be able to fly towards another part of the map.
So as you were getting into it and as things were getting more difficult over time, were you finding, like, how easily were you kind of getting those top marks, I guess?
That's the thing. Like I would have to, repeat, just keep repeat, because sometimes it's one of those things where sort of like with the Dark Souls boss, like sometimes like your first run, it's like, oh yeah, I got this. And then the next run, you're just like, dead end into the first intersection and don't go anywhere. And just trying to figure out like exactly like the right momentum to have. And at first I really didn't like the idea of everything being in a test junction, and the first couple of levels are really bad about it too, because it's like this low ceiling, like you're in a parking garage kind of feel, and like everything just feels really cramped and there's no like color to it. Some of the later levels do like have sky, do feel like they're kind of more open freeways. But it's all sort of hologram based. It's all very made to feel like, no, this isn't really happening. You're not really hurting anybody kind of thing.
Weird.
Right.
But what's cool about that in a way is that it just allows them to like design any kind of bizarre level. So you don't have to feel like this is like what a real road would be like. And so there was one where you have to like do this huge jump and then like aim at one line of traffic going this way, cross another line of traffic going that way, and then fall off the edge of that road into a tunnel that's down below that you can't even see at that point. And then, somehow like pick up a crash breaker there and then blast yourself to the other side of the tunnel to like be able to hit all of those cars and get to the gold.
I can't tell if that sounds amazingly fun or just extremely frustrating.
I don't think he can either.
It's not frustrating to me. Again, it's just like I think it's just one of those things, and it's not really racing, but it's like one of the things about racing games is like there's always that sense of like you practice and you can get a little bit better, and I think and that's with this. It's like, okay, if I just hit I gotta just figure out like how to hit these angles right to like hit all of these points on the junction. But there are some, like, again, being kind of budget, there are some things that just don't really work from that old style of how the technology is set up, because it's like, for one, like you can't really move the camera that much. It's just kind of like on a flat plane and circle around, and so there are times where you kind of can't see where you're supposed to go or until like, okay, now I've done it once, let me do it again, and like try to position myself towards that. Like when something's below, you can't really see that. The other thing that doesn't really work is, how they would Burnout 2 and 3, once you finished the thing, they would like circle around and like count up like all the damage that you did. It's so slow and tedious. It's like, just skip it. Just not. It's not fun at all to just look at a bunch of cars sitting there in a jumble.
I always like in something like that where they're showing you like piece by piece everything that you did in that section, when you can like hold a button and kind of fast forward through it, like where you can control the speed. And
one thing that hurts that too is because these are like holographic things, you actually get more points if you knock stuff off the road, because then it like falls into this like black void. But the result of that is the road is just kind of empty. Like you don't see a bunch of cars piled on top of each other or anything, because everything just blasted off the side. So I just really feel like with that, like it would be, to me, it would be better to have like some kind of replay system in there, because there's so much stuff that you don't even see happened. Like, you're focused on where your car is at and you're moving on, and meanwhile, like, all of these things are jamming into each other behind you. Is like semi-trucks, with a bunch of, exploding barrels off the back, and that tips over and causes all this stuff. And like, meanwhile, you're just like, I'm just trying to get to this other thing. It'd be great to get a replay of like recap. Okay, this crazy thing happened when you weren't looking, and this happened, and this happened. Yeah, but like I said, like, it still has that element that those Burnout 2 and 3 had, where like, I would love to just sit down with somebody for a few hours and just pass the controller around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it seems like it would be a good group stream game. But you were talking about it being a budget title. Are there a lot of challenges? I mean, have you already been through everything? Or
no, definitely not. Like, I only streamed it for 2 hours or so. Okay. And a lot of that was just totally repeating things just to try to get better scores. There are leaderboards, so you can right away see, like, how your score stacks up. So if you like, you're in the thousands, okay, you probably didn't do that good. If you get up to 100 or 200 on the leaderboard, you're doing all right.
How much is it?
I think it's $15.
Okay.
I think somebody in chat looked it up and it was about $15.
Okay, and is that just PC?
No, I was playing it on Xbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I really like Crash Mode and Burnout, and want to give it a shot.
Sure.
Want to give it a shot. The last game on our list for the What Have We Been Playing segment of Frame Trap is something that I've talked about before, and so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But I've been playing more Mega Man. I've just been in a Mega Man mood, and the Mega Man 11 announcement certainly didn't help. But this started before that, and what's interesting now is playing several different titles back to back. I always love doing that when I can. Normally I don't have the luxury, but playing back to back through a series, you really get to compare and contrast, where they were at this point in time and how things changed. So I finished Mega Man 9, and Mega Man 9 is one of the best Mega Man games that I've played, for reasons that I'll get into. But I just want to say, you were talking about that spirit of repetition, and fighting Dr. Wily and Mega Man 9, like, the first time I did it, so it has 3 phases. The first time I did it, I was like, I don't know if I could do this. And the reason why I didn't play more Mega Man 9 when it came out is because I just got my butt kicked. But I still got
that game, and both of those 9 and 10 are really hard.
Yeah, I need to play through 10, and I'm getting there, and I'm really excited about it just because of how much I enjoyed mine. But in general, like, the Wily Castle stages in 9 use elements from the prior stages, but they mix them together in a way that feels different. Like, they're actually really, really interesting stages. And I want to talk about Mega Man 8 in just a second, which I don't think does that. But it was a fight like that. The first part of the Wily fight, he shoots out this ball that'll bounce on the ground, and you have to jump and shoot your Mega Buster to bounce it off Wily, and as you're bouncing it around, it'll crack more and more, and you need it to explode on him. And so it's almost like you're playing this tennis match with the first form of Wily, where the only way that you can damage him is by volleying this huge ball back and forth and just trying to find that rhythm. Like, it was really fun. It was really creative. It was really cool. The second part is just pattern recognition, and then the third part is just classic Capsule Wily. But it was really fun going through all that. But the thing that I want to comment on Mega Man 9 and compare and contrast here is the different weapons, so the boss weapons. I felt like, especially during the Wily Castle stages in Mega Man 9, pretty much not all of my weapons, but the majority of my weapons were so valuable. Like, when I was out, it was just significantly harder, and I felt like there were so many times in Mega Man 9 where I'd be like, I wonder if I can use a weapon this way, and then you can do it. And it's not just for killing things. Like, there are a bunch of creative ways that you can kill things, but you can use, like, the concrete block to create an additional platform so you can get up somewhere, and even just in the Wily Castle stages, the way that they encourage you to use Rush Coil and Rush Jet, like, those things feel really, really, really valuable. And then I played through Mega Man 8, which is a much easier game in general, which is fine. And it is a game that I always adored as a kid. It was one of my favorite Mega Man games as a kid, which is something that I talked about at the Beach House. But what I don't like about Mega Man 8 is coming fresh off of 9, I feel like it's not that the boss weapons aren't useful, but you never really need them. But the Wily Castle stages, it's like, here's this one thing that we did in a previous stage. It's like, here's the snowboarding thing. We're just going to make that way longer and harder. And that's fine, but just from a level design standpoint, it's not as fun to go through. It's not as memorable. And just all of the boss fights felt pretty simple. I just didn't feel that creativity that I felt with Mega Man 9. Those kind of exciting aha moments. And it's just kind of weird, I think, a game that you liked as a kid. And I think the reason I liked it was, one, Mega Man 8 has a ton of personality. I mean,
it's the presentation of that game is its strong suit.
Absolutely. I mean, the boss is talking to you, saying things like, I love the personality of Aquaman and Tengu Man and Clown Man. Some people find them annoying, but I thought they were really cool. And just how bright and colorful those stages are. You know, you think of Clown Man stage, you're going through this toy wonderland. It's so cool. But from a mechanics standpoint, it really let me down. And just as a kid, I think I liked it because it was so much easier than other Mega Mans. And it's just kind of fascinating to realize how much our perspective on games and what we value as good or bad depends on where we're coming from in terms of knowledge and experience and just where we are in our lives. And so that I thought was really cool. And I just I'm a little bit disappointed in Mega Man 8. But then after I finished 8, I started playing 7, and I'm 4 Robot Masters into 7.
That's Super Nintendo, right?
Yeah. Mega Man 7 is one of the Mega Man games that I have the least experience with.
Yeah, I don't have a lot with that.
Just because I didn't have a Super Nintendo.
Well, it's like on X. I mean, Super Nintendo's like, it's X.
Right, exactly.
I'm playing
X. That's the other thing is X was always felt more emphasized to me than 7 did. And everything I read about 7 is it's like, oh, you know, it's cool, but it's just another Mega Man game. And I guess, in a very broad sense that's true. But one, I think it feels so much better than 8. It feels really tight. The levels feel really well designed. The boss fights are challenging, but you really have to think about them. It's got more presentation in it than the other Mega Mans, but I feel like it's not too much, it's not bogging you down.
Yeah.
But it was, I don't know if it was just because, the outside perspective on it was so harsh, but I thought, from what I've played so far, Mega Man 7 is a lot more solid, tighter, and interesting than I thought it was going to be. So I've been impressed with that so far. But yeah, I'm excited to polish off 7, go through 10, and then have all of Legacy Collection 2 wrapped up.
When I think about the evolution of Mega Man, and just how much more intrusive the story and cutscenes are as it goes on.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is you kind of see that trend with Mega Man 7 and 8, and then 9. Yes, there is story. Yes, there are scenes where they're talking, but it's almost non-existent.
Yeah, really. They dial it back hard on those ones. But what I'm thinking of, going to the X games and everything like that, how those games evolve.
Definitely.
Just doing this a lot, trying to skip through text with some dumb robot talking to me. I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah. What are the Mega Man games, Brad, for you that really stick out?
3 sticks out for me because it's the one I owned growing up.
Okay.
And it's a really good Mega Man game. Yeah. It's really good because I love the slide. Yeah. They introduced the slide 3.
Yep. That was actually something that you bring up. So playing through 9, you don't have the slide.
Yeah, you don't have the charge shot either, right?
Right. And I have some personal quibbles with the charge shot, but when I went into 8 and I had the slide and I was dodging things that I would not have been able to dodge unless I had the slide, I was like,
it's how they implement. It's how they implement in the game.
You need the slide. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah.
Yeah, same with the charge shot. I think the charge shot's better in the X games. It's way more fun. Obviously, X, super familiar with.
Yep.
X4, maybe even more familiar. Yeah. No, really familiar with that.
I don't know if the internet. Well, the internet can find anything.
2, obviously. I don't like Mega Man 1, so I don't play that one.
Yeah. I've been chipping away at Mega Man 1, and
I don't like 1.
Just you can definitely tell they did not nail the tightness of Mega Man yet. That is a very slippery game.
What I hate about Mega Man is the boot, the platforms that appear.
Oh yeah. The disappearing blocks, least favorite thing in Mega Man. Period.
Stop it. Never do that again.
It's awful.
But 4, 5, 6. I think I have 6.
Yeah.
Is that one where he's red on the cover in the jetpack? Yeah, I have that. Yep. But I'm not familiar, super familiar with all those.
Yeah, I'm not super. I've played a good chunk of 4, but I'm not super familiar with 5 or 6 either. But
the X games, I'm way more familiar with.
Nice. Our stream of X4 at Game Trailers is one of my favorite streams.
Yeah, that was a good stream.
I don't think that's one that a lot of people have seen. It's a fun stream.
Was that an hour? Did we used to do hour streams?
Yeah, we used to do hour streams.
Wow.
Things have changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We almost beat that game in an hour.
Yeah. Blood, I don't think I've ever really talked to you about Mega Man. You've always seemed to me like you have some experience with it.
Yeah.
Where do you fall?
Yeah, I mean, 2 definitely is probably my favorite. I like 3 a lot as well. Pretty sure I played 4 and 5, but don't have that strong of a memory because I think it was just rentals. And then X1, X2. And then just, after that, it was probably just more random scattershot things. Like I played a little bit of the GameCube one, whatever it came out, the network transmission or whatever it was.
Yeah, my Mega Man experience is all over the place. Like I've played a lot of X1 and a lot of X4, but have never played X2 and X3.
Oh, okay.
So I'm really excited for
that collection, baby.
The collection, whatever that form that ends up taking the releases. I've never played Battle Network, and
I haven't played those either.
People swear by those games. I really want to check those out. So
obviously, we've played Legends too. Forgot to
bring
that up. Yeah.
Mega Man Legends.
Heck yeah.
But I just.
There's so many Mega Man games, though.
There's so many Mega Man games. There's so many Mega Man games. And I don't know if I'm just hitting Mega Man fever right now or what it is. But I'm just going through this collection, and I was like, okay, after I finish 9, like I'll probably feel good for a while. I'll need to cool off. And I'm like, no.
Ride that wave, man.
I am riding the wave, Brad.
Ride the wave, dude.
Like, I just want to go through them all. Like,
yeah,
I am
dude.
just. What's nice, I think, and we were talking about this before the show, is we were all lamenting at like how long everything is. Like, this feels like a year where we are flooding in quality releases, but it's like, why is everything 50 hours long? Like, everything is so long, and I think the reason why I'm not getting burned out on Mega Man is like 3 hours.
Yeah,
boom,
quick 3
done.
hours, you're done.
And it feels good, and it's a super satisfying 3 hours.
Complete.
It's an intense 3 hours where you're working your butt off trying to get through those stages.
Definitely.
And so that feels really fun.
Yeah, I was actually really surprised when I went back through Mega Man 2 for Backtrack. And I was just like, oh man, this episode's easy.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because I think I had already done Chrono Cross at that point. Maybe not yet. Or maybe I was working on Chrono Cross at the same time, because that was like, I knew that was going to take forever. So like I did that throughout, the whole season or whatever, while other things were being worked on at the same time. And that's when I also was getting Brandon and Patrick in there to do some episodes too.
Nice. I don't know if I have. I've seen the Mega Man 2 episode of Backtrack, but I want to go back and see if I can find that. Video game music, man. It is time. I'm very excited about this. This is a more involved one than we've done in a while. It's a lighthearted one, but it's an involved one. It is time for the one, the only HOTTAKE! How'd you feel about that, Brad?
That was loud.
It was loud.
It was like a sonic boom, just boom.
Oh! I have to tell you a story real quick about me screaming HOTTAKE.
Tell me.
There was this guy, he came up to me. I am super bad with names. If you're listening, I apologize. I forgot your name. But he came up to me and he told me a hilarious story. He was like, I was listening to Frame Trap and my windows rolled down. And there was a really pretty girl that walked by, and it was right when she was walking by is the moment that you screamed HOTTAKE. And he said, I believe these were his words. He said, she gave me a really nasty look.
Whoa.
Yeah. So, Frame Trap, dangerous for public consumption.
Yeah. Some guy told me he fell asleep to the Easy Allies podcast. Yeah. And I did my sign off where I was yelling.
And you woke
him up. And he's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought that was a pretty wonderful story.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So we did this last year, I think. I'm really bad with time. I think we did this around last year. And it's kind of different. It's not exactly the same thing. But what I have done, esteemed panel, is I have made a list of games that is supposed to be coming out in 2018 that has had some sort of official announcement. And I'm going to go through the list. And the reason why you have note cards, we need to get a pen for you, Brad.
I'm going to get one.
Okay, go get a pen while I'm explaining this. The reason you have note cards is I'm going to go through this huge list, and what I want you to write down, what I want you to be in the mindset of, is collectively what we're going to do. I love making us look like idiots. So we're going to look like big idiots.
Xenoblade is not coming out in 2017.
Right. We are going to try to make what we think are going to be Easy Allies' top 5 games of the year. Now, some of these games on this list that we've played, we have all different levels of experience. We've played with some of these, they've barely announced. We need to collectively decide, group effort, what we think this time next year is going to be Easy Allies top 5 games of the year.
Okay.
So I'm going to go through this huge list.
Okay.
You write down things that jump out at you,
okay.
all right? I've named this Google Drive document building the list. All right, I'm going to write them down too. All right, so right out the gate, Ni no Kuni 2. I didn't include every game coming out in 2018. I just included games that I thought had a shot.
Sure.
So there's definitely some bias there for sure. Ni no Kuni 2, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Monster Hunter World, Shadow of the Colossus, Dynasty Warriors 9, Secret of Mana, Sea of Thieves, Yakuza 6, A Way Out, Far Cry 5, Ace Combat 7, Anthem, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Code Vein, Concrete Genie, Crackdown 3, Darksiders 3, Dauntless, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, Dragon Quest Builders 2, Dragon Quest 11, Dreams, God of War, Kingdom Hearts 3, Left Alive, Mega Man 11, Metro Exodus, Pillars of Eternity 2, Deadfire. I just want to say, just because I had to look it up too. I'd forgotten, I was like, wait, is Left Alive that thing? Left Alive is the set in the Front Mission universe, that game.
Oh,
so
okay.
If you'd forgotten that, that's what that is. Project Octopath Traveler, Psychonauts 2, Red Dead Redemption 2, Shenmue 3, Spider-Man, State of Decay 2, Soul Calibur 6, System Shock, The Wolf Among Us, Season 2, Travis Strikes Again, No More Heroes, Fire Emblem Switch, sorry, there are 3 more, Fire Emblem Switch, Valkyria Chronicles 4, and World of Warcraft Battle for Azeroth. I'm sure there are things that I'm forgetting.
Can I see that list again?
Yeah.
That was
absolutely.
a hell of a lot of games.
There's a lot of games.
I couldn't write fast enough.
And if there's anything that panel you think I have forgotten that needs to be on there, let me know.
Okay.
Oh, Blood. You wrote way more names than I was expecting.
Well,
I was just trying to remember all the names you were doing, and I was going to start naming them.
I went a little fast, to be fair. I went a little fast.
I feel like I have a good lock on some of them.
Yeah, there's one in particular where I'm like, I don't think we're going to be able to dispute this. The next phase of this, what I want to do is if you guys can, I want to get you down to a personal list of between 5 and 10, and then I want to see what the similarities are between all 3 of us. Because I've narrowed it down to 5. I've picked 5 from that list that I think would be good. In fact, my list that I've narrowed down to 5, Valkyria Chronicles 4, Red Dead Redemption 2, and I was thinking about Easy Allies as a whole when I was doing this. Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, Dragon Quest 11, and then what's the last one I have there at the very bottom?
Monster Hunter World?
Monster Hunter World, yeah. That sounds right. Yeah, okay. That's Ben's list.
What's Brad's list?
There were things that were very hard to leave off were Yakuza 6, Ni no Kuni 2, Soul Calibur 6, Travis Strikes Again, Spider-Man, Kingdom Hearts 3.
No Lost Sphere on there, dude. Feels bad, man.
No Lost Sphere. You want to add Lost Sphere? We can add Lost Sphere. I didn't have Lost Sphere on there. All right, so to open up this discussion, I know you guys are trying to process a lot right now. I know that's kind of the nature of this, so no worries. But one that I think, just thinking about Easy Allies as a whole, thinking about the first game, I think Red Dead Redemption 2 is a lock.
Yeah.
I think
to me, that's the one I felt the strongest about.
Yep, that's the one I feel the strongest about too. I think I feel so confident in saying Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably going to be one of Easy Allies' favorite games of 2018.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna mark that down. I'm gonna lock that in stone.
Lock it in.
All right. Now, There are other things that I feel strongly about, but none as strong as that. Do you have any strong contenders?
I feel like Shenmue, if it comes out, will be on there. Especially because, like, Mike has this way of just being super aggressive about games.
He does.
And if this wasn't on the list, he would quit.
Okay, Brad, I'm trying to come at this the right way. Where, like, I don't know if any of us love anything as much as Hubert loves Shenmue. And Michael Huber is extremely convincing and very aggressive, as you said. And I'm super excited about Shenmue 3. I really want to play it. I'm excited for it to come out. I just don't know if I've seen... Well, I don't know if I've seen enough to give me confidence that it'll be like one of our best games of the year. Even
you just putting it on this list, I don't think it's going to happen this next year.
Sure. And so I just don't know if Shenmue 3 has given me enough of the confidence.
I think God of War will be a big one.
I think God of War will be a big one, too.
I think we'll all enjoy that.
And I feel like we've seen a lot of that game that has been very promising. And I personally am super into the direction they're taking it. Blood, how do you feel about God of War?
I feel more interested about God of War than I've ever felt about a God of War.
Okay, I like that.
I've never played them, largely because of, super angry Kratos ripping limbs apart. Like, it's just never been my thing.
Sure. Did it feel shallow to you?
I don't know if it's necessarily shallow, but it just, it just hasn't appealed to me. That kind of stuff, Well, the sex mini games and just the whole 9 yards has just not been my vibe. So it's just been one of those things where like, I don't need to play this. So, but this one, it just, I don't know. It feels like more of a fleshed out world.
Yeah.
I mean, like the scale of God of War has always been interesting, of course. So yeah, I've been very curious from the trailers that they've had with this game.
So Blood, the real question is, do you feel confident enough in it that you're willing? We only have 5 spots. We have a lot of games. Are you confident enough in it that it will be one of our 5 favorite games of the year?
I think it could be.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I'm putting it down. That's the second game to take the slot. So the thing is it starts easy, it gets harder.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that someone would like to throw out?
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
This is the payoff, dude. A lot of us are caught up.
Yeah.
Kyle's caught up. I'm caught up.
Yeah.
You're pretty much caught up.
I'm pretty much caught up.
Huber's pretty much caught up. He will be for 3. Damiani's going to play it, The only 2 I don't, or 3 is you, Brandon, and Ian. Brad,
I really want to play Kingdom Hearts 3. The demo that we got, I actually thought was really cool. It's just with the life cycle of Kingdom Hearts 3, I'm worried that it's gonna get pushed out somehow.
I mean, I'm surprised that you could put it on this list.
Yeah. Right.
I'm just going by what's on this
2018.
list. I'm just going by what's on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always fair to be hesitant to things that have been as drawn out as Kingdom Hearts 3. Those are my concerns.
The thing that, when I'm putting this on there is, a lot of our stuff is like, not everyone even likes. Like, we don't agree on everything. Like, Last Guardian won our Game of the Year, and Mike and Ian hate that game.
Yep.
So I think it's definitely possible for it to be on there.
Yeah, and I think you're coming at it from the right perspective. Is when I say, like, what is our favorite game, I think the one that registers with us the most. A lot of allies care about Kingdom Hearts a lot, and I think that's a very strong reason to consider it, and are just so anxious to know what's going to happen. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a fair argument. Blood, I don't know where you fall in Kingdom Hearts 3. Do you think you have enough confidence in Kingdom Hearts 3 to put this on the list?
It's just this thing where I'm completely checked out. Like, it does not. I just, there have been times where, like, when Brad's streaming and I will be sucked into whatever weird dialogue is happening, but at the same time, like, I'm not actually enjoying myself. It's just this, like, this addictive personality kind of
train
thing.
Wreck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, did you say you're not sure if you're not enjoying yourself, or you're definitely not enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I'm definitely not enjoying it.
You know what?
So, yeah, and the times that I have, and I've never put that much time in any of the games. But the times where I have picked it up for a capture or something like that, I'm just like never felt like I was enjoying the combat style, the combat systems. So yeah, it's just not. It's been a very kind of blank emotion out of me whenever that game's come around.
See, this list is tricky because it's so rare for all of us to be obsessed with something on
an
equal level.
It is. But that is going to be kind of the crux of my argument here, and hear me out. So I'm going to put Kingdom Hearts 3 off to the side. We've got it noted down. It's not taking up a spot yet, but we've got it noted down. I would like to make a case for Monster Hunter World. And I don't think a lot of the allies are invested in Monster Hunter yet to a significant degree. And so I don't think there's a lot of confidence there from that perspective. But just playing with Eden, the fact that like we're going to try to make Weekly Hunts a collective thing, like maybe Monster Hunter World won't be one of the 5 best games of the year, but I think I could make an argument based on how we're going to be playing it as friends that collectively it will be one of our favorite games of the year.
My only thing is with this game is I could see a very easy situation of like when Destiny 2 came out. I'm not saying it's going to be like Destiny 2. Right. It's like how we played it for that amount of time, then everyone bailed. Everyone's out.
Yeah.
Same thing with Final Fantasy 14 Stormblood. Everyone played for a little bit, everyone's out.
Brad, I think you are right on the money with that. There's 2 things that I want to say in response to that because I think that's a super fair point. The first is that we have to cover games. And our coverage of games that we need to get done will supersede staying committed to something. That's just a fact of life. That's just the way it is. The thing with like Destiny 2 is I played it a lot and then I felt like, not that I had done everything. I hadn't done everything, but I had done like pretty much the big checkmark things, and what was remaining for me wasn't super engaging to me.
Correct.
Now, obviously, there's more stuff with Curse of Osiris and all of that. There's more to dig into, but I felt like I just kind of did it. And so with Monster Hunter World, the question will be, like, how much is there? How long does it take to get through all of that? And how much fun are we having repeatedly doing these things with different weapons, with different combinations of people? I don't know. I don't know that answer.
I feel like the vast majority of us will hit that point and we'll just stop at a point.
Okay.
Like, I could see you and Damiani maybe playing more than us, but me, Mike, Ian, probably won't last as long.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I'd like to be optimistic and think that this is something that I'm going to be doing. Like, I just really like the way Monster Hunter feels, just on a very basic level. And so I'd like to be thinking I'm going to be playing for a long time. But I don't know. Maybe I'll reach that point too. Brad, I think this is a good argument. We're leaving it off the list for now. Going to put it on the side.
Okay.
Well, I've got one, but I feel like you probably have the most input on it is Dragon Quest XI.
Yeah.
That was on my list too.
You know what?
It's like, to me, like I want that to be on that list.
Me too.
But I don't know. I don't know how well it stacks up. And a lot of it might depend on how well they localize it, because 8 was really well localized.
Yeah.
But
I thought 9 was well localized as well, you know.
Yeah, but it's like it didn't have, that extra touch of the voice acting and everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing is what's so interesting about making these lists is some of them are just making guesses on, some of them are just putting hopes and dreams on. I've played not a lot at all, but I've played some of the Japanese version of both the 3DS and PS4 version of Dragon Quest XI. I mean, obviously not understanding the story or the language or anything like that, like I think that is a pretty promising. I think that's the right word to use based on my very limited experience with it. Obviously, I think a lot of us have a huge affinity for Dragon Quest. And I think that checks a lot of boxes for us. We already know and like the series. We like the charm. It's our style of game. It's a big, sprawling, single-player game. And based on the limited experience that we've had, it seems promising. I think that's a pretty potent combination of things. And I think you can make an argument for it being on the list.
Yeah.
Any reservations or doubts?
Damiani with the art style. He just can't get into it.
I don't think that's enough.
For Damiani?
For Damiani, yes. But I'm saying like collectively.
Jones won't play it.
Sure.
Ian might try it and play for like 5 hours. Then just stop.
Okay.
Like, so what happens. Like, I'll play it. You'll play it. You'll play it. Mike will play it.
Yeah.
Kyle, definitely playing it.
Kyle will maybe play it. Maybe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I mean, what? That's 4 allies?
Kyle will like see a character. Exactly. It's like if you can get half the group, that's might count.
To get on
That's what
top
was
5.
my case with Kingdom Hearts. Is like maybe you can get half the group. Maybe.
I don't know. I'm thinking of making it our third game.
I mean, I want it on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Hell yeah, I want that on there.
Now I just want it. I just want to play it. Too many things. Okay. With these last two spots, I think we're kind of at a point where we need to just start throwing out stuff and discussing
It's going to get dicey.
Mm-hmm. It's going to get dicey. What else would I like to nominate?
I think Spider-Man might have a chance.
Spider-Man might have a chance. Yes.
Insomniac Open World.
You
know, Jones is in. Kyle's in.
Yep. It's just, for me, when I think about Spider-Man and coming out of PSX, from impressions out of PSX, which I didn't get to see it or play it or anything like that, impressions coming out of PSX are very high, based on the limited stuff that I saw. But that...
Wait, they didn't have anything new?
Yeah, they didn't have anything. They
didn't have anything new?
It was just videos.
Man, okay, because I could have sworn I saw somebody being like, oh man, I'm more sold on Spider-Man than I've ever been.
All there was is a giant, photo booth.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I mean, maybe there's... No, I don't even think there's anything behind closed doors.
Okay.
I don't know. I haven't, obviously I haven't read other people's articles, but I don't know
Ben's got the scoops, man.
No, I don't have the scoops. I could just be misinterpreting a tweet that I saw.
Oh, I didn't hear
Don't put any credit
I didn't
in
hear
that.
Don't put
any credit in
buzz whatsoever.
And what I wanted to say is, thinking back to that E3 presentation, I just wasn't sold.
Me too.
There.
Me too. So, I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's getting dicey here.
It is getting dicey.
I feel like, it could go either way.
I would like to talk about Fire Emblem Switch.
Sure.
I think Fire Emblem has proven itself enough. I think the fact that it's going to be on Switch and not 3DS is a big deal for a lot of the allies. I really like Fire Emblem. I know several of the allies really like Fire Emblem. I think about it, and even though we've seen nothing on the new Fire Emblem for Switch, it's one of those games where why would I not be confident in this?
Is this a real deal Fire Emblem?
It's a real deal Fire Emblem.
Okay. How many versions will there be?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be a Fate situation or what.
I don't know.
My guess is that it won't be that.
Yeah. I don't know because I don't have experience with them really. Sure. So I can't tell if I'll be excited or not. I don't know what Mike will think at all.
Yeah.
Or Ian.
I've got...
Or Brandon.
I've got a stronger recommendation, I think, because we've played it. I think this fits a vibe and style for a lot of us that is very, very sweet. I think the fact that it's coming out on Switch is again, because there are allies, Huber, who don't love playing things on handhelds. That's
correct.
Fine. But Project Octopath Traveler, based on
I
what
don't have to play that on a handheld.
What's that?
I don't have to play that on a handheld.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying is this throwback, but also kind of its own thing, JRPG that, from what we've seen, has a really interesting, promising story, really interesting, promising combat, really interesting, promising visual style. I think it is checking a lot of the boxes for easy allies.
I like that pick. I honestly think Valkyria Chronicles 4 is a stronger pick for us.
Yeah, I think the reason why I actually haven't nominated, that is one of the games I'm most intensely interested about on this list, but I think I'm just worried after Revolution.
Yeah,
everything that I'm seeing of 4 looks awesome.
I'm just gonna go hypothetical, and it rekindles that spirit that it once had.
Sure.
We're all pumped.
Yeah.
Damiani's pumped. Mike's pumped. I could see Ian playing Valkyria Chronicles.
Okay.
I could see Jones being interested in it. I never know Jones.
Do you think, assuming Valkyria Chronicles 4 is awesome, do you think that it would leave a bigger impact on us than Project Octopath?
I don't know a lot about Project Octopath, so I
think so.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. I feel like there's Octopath in a way still seems a bit limited in scope. I don't know. I feel like that's going to be a really great game. I don't feel like it's going to necessarily be such a wow factor to it.
Okay.
To really hit it up to that upper echelon, the top 5.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. But it just doesn't feel like it's got necessarily enough of a scope to it.
Are we comfortable with putting Valkyria Chronicles 4 on this list?
Oh, man, it's so tough.
There are other things that I think we need to at least discuss.
Go at me, dude.
Yakuza 6.
Yeah, but I mean, how many people in the office play it, or how many of us play that 3? And I'm not going to play it because I'm behind.
I feel like some of the early impressions have been kind of down.
That was the thing that I was going to bring up.
Comparatively.
Oh.
Yep. I've heard from people who have played the Japanese version that they didn't love it. Yes.
Oh.
Okay. All right. I think there's a lot of doubt there. What about Ni no Kuni 2? I think that's something that a lot of us are going to play.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's going to be sweet.
I do too. We've played it.
Yeah. I think like everyone like seems hyped on it.
Yep.
Everyone.
We really like Ni no Kuni a lot.
Yeah.
Blood?
Yeah. I don't have a thing to put a finger on it, but I do wonder. And it's coming out earlier too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's got to have that lasting staying power for the year.
It has to have that lasting staying power.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. That's something that I'm actually worried about with Monster Hunter and it coming out in January. There are other things that we have to talk about. Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Yeah. I feel like fighting games just don't make it usually for us.
Well, I'm worried.
Not in an overall top 5, right?
Kind of the thing that you were saying is I'm worried that we're just going to collectively fall off of it quick, even though we intensely enjoy it for a period of time. We're gonna collectively fall off of it. I'm worried about that. I'd like to make a case for Metro Exodus.
Okay.
Not a game that we've spent a lot of time talking about, but I think unlike other things that we've nominated, it's not going to be especially long. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to grab a lot of people. I think, obviously the premise of Metro, the style of Metro, those, I haven't played a lot of 2033, but what I played of Last Light, it's like, man, I think there's really something special here. I wouldn't be surprised if it grabbed more of us than we realize.
Yeah, I guess my concern with Exodus is being a little too much of the same.
Okay.
I'm not sure where they take that to move the series forward, where they're taking the story. Yeah, it's definitely done some interesting things, but I think the most interesting things about how the Metro vibe works have been present already, so I'm not sure what they're going to do to really like freshen that up and surprise us.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I'm kind of hard. Like, there's a lot of things here that I'm like could feel split on a lot of ways.
Yeah. It's hard to like feel super confident about one. Like Red Dead, I feel 100% confident in.
Yep. I mean, that's what's gonna happen when you're filling the 4th spot and the 5th spot.
And I mean, Sea of Thieves we haven't talked about, and like I feel like that's gonna be very much like Monster Hunter, where it's going to depend on us playing together.
Right.
And it's really going to depend on like whether, to me, that game depends on whether they can really make the content engaging enough.
Exactly.
Because I feel like so far what I've seen in that game is just like, oh, it's cool to hang out on a ship together and do some treasure hunting, but it all seems very simple and very basic, which can be good.
Right.
But in the long term, like, what is actually keeping me into this, keeping me coming back to this, keeping a group of us coming back to this, because you need a group, because I'm sure that game with randoms is going to be a nightmare.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So,
I mean, the 3 games that we have on here are either sequels or like heavily attached to a series that is well established, and I would love to put Sea of Thieves on here, but I think just because of the nature of that game, you can totally easily envision it going either way. It's hard to be absolutely confident, I think, in Sea of Thieves. Based on our discussions, though, I mean, there's more things that we could talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I really liked the first season of Wolf Among Us. I'm really excited to play Wolf Among Us Season 2. Travis Strikes Again, I think, could be one that could go either way. Mega Man 11.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll, I don't know if they'll take us by storm, really.
What about A Way Out? Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I remember when it came out in the GTAs.
I think I missed that writing.
A Way Out, yeah, I forgot to write that.
Left an impression.
I could see a lot of people liking that game.
Yeah, like What Remains of Edith Finch, I think hit us really hard because it wasn't very long and it was something that all of us could appreciate and play through.
Yeah.
So I think that might be a strong candidate.
Okay.
I do think, based on the conversations that we've had, though, I think just we've been the most confident about Ni no Kuni 2.
Yeah, Ni no Kuni 2. Put that on there. I thought that was already on there.
No, it's not.
Oh, yeah, put it on there.
Blood, are you cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. We got 4 games. The other one that I think the most confidence was expressed about was either Kingdom Hearts 3 or Valkyria 4.
That's a tough one.
Well, yeah, I was
Valkyria 4 will be easier for everyone to play.
I mean, what were you thinking against A Way Out? I mean,
I don't know.
A Way Out, to me, both A Way Out and Dreams seem to be...
Yeah, Dreams could be awesome.
Yeah, or
it could just be terrible.
I know this, like, we're coming off of the PSX buzz from
every
people.
time I think about games like Dreams, I think of myself, honestly, and Hubert saying, like, oh, man,
for sure.
I'm too intimidated by this or just don't feel creative enough or something. And so I think Dreams sounds really, really cool. I just don't know if it'll have the biggest impact on us as Easy Allies in 2018.
I'm just trying to think about the buzz between us when we see something like when we saw Valkyria Chronicles 4.
Right.
Our vibe, how excited everyone was.
But I also think about A Way Out, and I think about how excited we were when we saw that, and how it's kind of buddy cop. Not buddy cop. That's a bad way of phrasing it. But the banter between the two characters, the whole prison break vibe, how well that gelled with us. And again, thinking about previous games, like I thought Brothers was a phenomenal game. I could totally see A Way Out being
it's possible. For me, I don't know if that game will stick with me, kind of thing. I'm not excited about that game as everyone else, but I think it looks good.
Sure.
But I'm not like freaking out. I'm not like Huber excited about it or Jones excited about it.
Okay.
I don't know. But I could see it pleasing everybody to an extent, which is a positive.
To me, it feels very much in like that kind of same space as Hellblade this year, or it's it's a shorter, like really polished experience and like has a good like payoff narratively,
I love Hellblade. Is Hellblade collectively in our top 5?
It might not be.
For me, I don't think so right now. Well, because like we don't even know what all's coming out next year too, so there could be way more.
Yeah, there's definitely games we haven't seen yet.
And that could just overshadow all that.
What's interesting about A Way Out, and I don't know if this is fair to say, is I feel like I can, based on what I've seen in my experience with the Brothers, I feel pretty confident in saying that A Way Out would be a good game. But with Valkyria Chronicles 4 and Kingdom Hearts 3, which I've kind of already alluded to, if those games hit, they will hit with us so much harder than like almost anything else on this list.
Yeah, the thing that gives me confidence about Kingdom Hearts 3 is everything we've seen has been good.
Sure.
It's been very good. Sure. But yeah, it's been in a long development, which can be worrisome. But at the same time, it's Square Enix, so I don't know.
Yeah, you just don't know.
Yeah.
So does that leave us between Kingdom Hearts 3 and Valkyria Chronicles 4?
For me, it does.
What do you think, Blood?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then now this is just coming down to personal preference.
Yeah.
Even though the only Valkyria Chronicles game that I've played through from beginning to end is Valkyria Chronicles 1, but I love that game so much that if I had to pick, even though I've played more Kingdom Hearts, I would pick Valkyria.
Yeah, that's fine. It's like, yeah, I'm just so invested in Kingdom Hearts.
Right.
Like, this is the end.
Right.
This is what I've been waiting for like 20 years.
Right.
Or whatever. How long it's been. I don't even know how long it's been anymore. It's not been 20 years, but.
Brad, I'm okay with putting either one
on the
list.
Yeah, I like both of them. Like, they're both really good. Yeah. They'll both be awesome. They're both right up my alley. So it doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I feel like Kingdom Hearts has the better chance of actually living up to expectations.
Why?
Yeah, I just feel like Valkyria's never really quite hit the height that the first game has in terms of how people have reacted. I know that 2 and 3 were both portable, so that was a ding, and the other thing was just a weird spin-off, which, why even call it what it is? But yeah, I don't know. I think Valkyria could be in this weird place where nothing could ever hit the way the first game hit.
Okay.
Whereas I think Kingdom Hearts 3, it's like they know what's riding on it. They've been dragging their feet long enough, and
they can't afford for it to.
No, yeah, it's one of those situations again.
I don't know if I completely agree with every aspect of that line of thought, but I think there's enough there that I think it's.
Yeah, it's tough. It's hard to just agree on something so easily.
Yeah. All right. We did it.
We did it.
I don't know, when did we start this?
Okay. A while.
Yeah.
That was intense.
It's been a while. Things like this usually are, but we've done it. We've come up with what we believe will be. I mean, the best part of this is there are games that will come out in 2018 that we don't even know about.
Correct.
Yet.
Yeah.
That will definitely probably be on the list.
We put 3 JRPGs on the list.
We did put 3 JRPGs on the list. I'm sure people see the list and they roll their eyes, but through a process of elimination and discussion, this is what we believe on this episode of Frame Trap. Ben Moore, Bradley Ellis, Daniel Bloodworth believe will be the top 5 games in 2018 for Easy Allies. Red Dead Redemption 2, God of War, Dragon Quest XI, Ni no Kuni 2, and Kingdom Hearts.
Sorry, Huber. No Shenmue.
No Shenmue. Yeah. I wonder how the other allies will feel about this list. But please shove this in our faces next year when we get all this wrong. All right. It's time for the last segment of the show. You guys ready to wrap this up?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta pee.
Yeah, me too, man. All right, it's time for emails. We've got 3 emails today. Thank you, everybody who always sends in emails. I know it can be frustrating not getting your email picked, but I always appreciate it. I see some people, send multiple questions or, send the same question that they think, might have a better shot in the following episode. I think that's totally fine. Don't give up. Our first email comes in. Hold on a second.
Hold
on a second. Where is it? Okay, there it is. There it is. The first email comes in from Lasercat. He says, "Hello, allies. Have any of you ever quit a game because it was too hard to the point of being unbeatable, only to finally come back to the game years later and finally beat it? For me, I remember buying Dark Souls day one, then quitting after dying over and over to the skeletons in Blighttown." Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. I had to check something real quick. Then maybe about 2 years later, a friend of mine brought a copy of Dark Souls to my house, and my old character was still on my PS3. After watching him play, I gave it another shot, and with some help from him, mostly about how equipment load works, I finally beat the game. It was like having a huge burden finally being lifted from my shoulders. Have any of you had a similar experience?
Yeah. Castlevania on NES. Played when I was little. I could not beat it. Came back much later in my life. Beat it. Felt good. Just couldn't do it when I was younger.
Sorry, which one was that?
Castlevania. The original.
So, yes, I did it. I've only beaten Castlevania 1 with save states.
Okay.
Which I don't feel great about. But I would like to at some point go back and play through Castlevania
tough game,
1
man.
without. It is a tough game. It's really, honestly, I struggle at different parts of that game, but really it's death. It's death that wrecks me.
Yeah,
and I know there are things you can do to make it easier.
But yeah, if you don't know that stuff though, if you're just going in.
Yeah. This is the first one that jumps to mind that I already talked about earlier in the show, but Mega Man 9, where I first played it, I was just like, nope. And coming back and finishing it. But I feel like that happens to me with a lot of games.
Sure.
Honestly.
It's a lot to play.
There's a lot to play. Blood, is there one that jumps out to you?
I'm not getting anything jumping out at me, unfortunately. I feel like it's had to have happened.
You're right.
Sure. But I think I have a tendency to not give up too easily.
Yeah.
I beat my head against the wall way too much. It was like, all right, I've got it.
I've seen it in Dark Souls 3.
That was a quality that I developed in college. Like, probably at the end of high school and college, where I was like, no, I'm going to... I mean, it didn't apply to everything, but for most games, it was like, okay, if I'm going to play this, I'm going to get through it, and even if I struggle, I'm going to beat my head against it until I do it. So I developed that later in life, but when I was a kid, and I got stuck, I just moved on to something else.
Sure, yeah.
Didn't even really give it that many attempts. I moved on pretty quickly with games, so... But yeah. I love that, though. I love that email. I love... when people don't just start blaming the game or getting mad or whatever, but they sit down and they think about it and they get through it. Maybe it takes you a week. Maybe it takes you a month.
Sure.
But eventually getting through it, I think that's really cool.
I think one thing that's funny is, sometimes when you're having a hard time with something and then, not even coming back that much later, but just, going to bed and waking up in the morning and then,
Oh yeah,
right.
All
through
the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Every Souls game, I go through that every time.
With 9, I had that exact sensation where, do you ever have, and this is the worst feeling, I hate this feeling, and it definitely happened to me with Mega Man 9, where like your first few attempts are like pretty good, and you're like, okay, I got this, and then as you keep doing it, you just get worse and worse. Like you kind of just are grinding yourself down.
That's when you take the break.
That's when you take the break. That's when you take the break. But when you're in that moment, when you're just getting worse at it, it feels awful.
Yeah.
But yeah, I found that like an hour is really good. That if I step away for an hour, I come back and I'm refreshed and I do so much better.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Our next email is from Available. He says, "Hey allies, I was thinking about how GOTY Awards compare games that don't really make sense to compare. On a normal day, is any reasonable person going to compare Breath of the Wild to Persona 5, Mario Odyssey, or Divinity Original Sin 2? They're entirely different. If someone were to ask you candidly which of these is a better game, you'd most likely say you can't compare them or that it would be unfair to do so. Yet for some reason, at the end of the year, everyone decides that suddenly you can compare these and determine which is better or more noteworthy. Sure, most people have extra categories to give other game awards, but that doesn't mean anything. Which is the better RPG, Divinity or Persona? How about indie game, PUBG or Hollow Knight? I understand that people like to have that build-up and competition. Seeing a game you like win is exciting for people and can fill some with a sense of justice, but I think it hurts how we view games to make unfair comparisons like this. I feel like this is particularly true in 2017, where there are so many amazing games that appeal to wildly different audiences. Instead, it would make much more sense to just have an exceptional games of 20XX, which could be awarded to as many games as you wanted, for whatever reasons you wanted. This game is exceptional for its atmosphere, this one for its storytelling or gripping gameplay, this one for innovation in a well-established genre. Games are so varied and complex, we need to give players a more open-minded approach to understanding what makes a game stand out. Simply saying one game is the best this year is an unjust oversimplification of all great games that come out every year." I really like this email.
Oh, sorry. Keep going.
Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say, like, giving multiple categories, like for this game the best in this thing. I feel like whenever we nominate something for Game of the Year, is us acknowledging that this game is excellent in some way. So I think you could still give games respect, but not necessarily have it be the winner. Like, yeah, it's hard to compare art forms. Like, you could do this with almost any art form, like comparing movies at the Oscars or something like that.
Right.
Like, what makes this movie better than that movie? Something like that. It's just the kind of thing where we have to make a decision and we feel the strongest about a certain thing. It may not technically be the best. Like there might be a more bug in this one or something like that, or more glitches.
Yeah.
But the feeling we had from this game was so much stronger from something else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, in some years, of course, can be weaker than others. But I mean, I think a lot of the times when you get into Game of the Year, I mean, you're looking for games that are not only excellent, but are doing things that you haven't really seen before.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's like straight up just innovation, but other times, it's, the way of telling a story and like really fleshing that out, or, building a world that is just far more believable than anything that you've done before, and so I think that, that's why you never see anyone really picking like a sports game or a racing game or something like that for our Game of the Year, because it's just like there's very few that do something that like you don't expect.
Right.
Like it's like, okay, yeah, you've changed some things here, you've made competition better in one way or another. You've got a physics simulation that's stronger than before, but at the end of the day, it's like, it's a racing game. It doesn't blow your mind. Whereas, sometimes, when you're talking about Game of the Year, like you're talking about stuff that's, very much reinventing the way that game can play, or or that series can play if it's part of a series.
Like RE7 will be a good example of reinventing that series.
I do empathize with this email a lot, though, and the reason I empathize with it so much is people really haven't always heard our Game of the Year discussions, and I've been through several now, and some of the discussions are great, and I feel like people really bring a lot of this is why I think this should win, but I've also had Game of the Year discussions where it's like this just feels like completely arbitrary. It's just like, you like this one more, I like this one more. You haven't played this one, I haven't played that one. And it really is a terribly imperfect science where we're coming in with our own experience, our own biases, and it's just like, these things aren't even remotely comparable to begin with. Like, I've had conversations where it's like, I think this should be good purely from a gameplay perspective. I think this is one of the best games of the year. I think this is good from a purely story perspective, one of the best games of the year. And it's like, we have to choose one over the other. And it can be a really frustrating process. However, I'm somebody, growing up, I got really excited about Game of the Year. I think specifically, there was a period of time in high school where I was following the GameSpot crew, and their opinions meant the world to me. Like, I really looked up to guys like Greg Kasavin and Jeff Gersman and Ryan Davis, and just, I put a lot of value in their opinions, and I was somebody who, like, the games that I tended to buy were the games that were getting 9 out of 10, or the games that were getting Game of the Year, because I was a kid and I couldn't play everything. Yeah. You know, I just couldn't do that. I mean, I was fortunate enough to have the number of systems that I did. And so I think from a certain perspective, even though it is an imperfect science, even though you can very easily poke holes in it, it meant a lot to me when these guys that I really, really, really trusted were like, no, we think this is the best. And I think that's true of a lot of people. I think a lot of people, maybe they're missing out on things that we're not talking about, but hopefully, you know, the thing that we are picking as Game of the Year means so much to us that, you know, if that's the one thing that they can play, they'll get a lot out of that. You know, and I think you have to do that with a lot of things.
It's a weird thing. You can't make everybody happy with it.
You can't make everybody happy.
Like, every time we do GOTY stuff, there's salt somewhere. Someone's upset somewhere.
It's not, like, you know, we get salty about a lot of things, but Game of the Year salt is a special, I'm going to remember this to my grave kind of salt. Yeah. But I do think there is value in forcing yourself to pick. And that's, you know, people, it's the same thing with review scores, where people are like, don't do review scores. Or they're like, your review scores don't make any sense. Don't do review scores. You know, people don't even listen to the review anyway. They're just bickering about the score. And it's like, yeah, all of that is true. But I think when you don't do that, when you don't force yourself to pick, and you do kind of extend it out, and you give yourself, you sort of unbuckle the belt a little bit, you have the danger of not coming down hard on anything.
Yep.
You come down on just somebody watching it and being like, well, I'm not really sure how you feel. And the same thing is true with Game of the Year. And it's like, well, what, you think everything is great. So I think there is danger. There is value in forcing yourself to decide, like, no, I'm going to put a number to this. Like, I'm going to crystallize my thoughts. And I think that's important too. So.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on that? Any other thoughts on Game of the Year?
I think it's important to remember for Game of the Year that sometimes the game with not the highest score can win Game of the Year.
Absolutely.
A review is one person giving their opinion on it.
That's right.
And this is a whole group effort with everybody discussing it.
Yep.
So, yeah, just like when comments where I see, like, well, that game got lower score, how's a Game of the Year? How'd it win this category?
Right.
Like, well, that's why.
Right, yeah, and
opinions can change over time.
Exactly, yep.
I mean, now games change over time.
Games change over time, too, yeah.
Yeah, totally. I think that is a very good point to bring up, Brad.
But yeah, it's tough.
It is tough. I like it's something that I both really enjoy doing and is like one of my least favorite things.
We take it very seriously.
We do. Yeah. We do take it seriously because we care.
Yeah.
Because we care. Like when we are labeling something as Game of the Year, you may not like it. I know there are people who are very upset that we named Last Guardian Game of the Year. I know people that are very upset that we named Hearthstone Game of the Year, but we do care. Like, that didn't just happen. It was a very painful process where we, like, hated each other over it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Know that. Like, I promise you that is the case. Our last question, our last email, I really like this, comes in from Rashim. He says, what up, allies? Thanks for everything you do. My question is, do you have a song or album that you love that is attached to a game you played? For example, The Blueprint 2 by Jay-Z is attached to Ocarina of Time for me because my older bro and I listened to it together on a radio in the background while I tried to get through the Water Temple. Specifically the song called Hovey Baby. Go listen to it if you haven't because it's fire. Thanks for reading my email.
Yeah, I got one right now.
Nice.
So this album is associated with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Back in the day in vanilla, it was this folk metal band called Elven King.
Oh, nice. I haven't heard of them.
So it's all folk metal. This album is called Heathen Reel.
Okay.
And we used to joke.
Like quintessential.
Yeah. We used to joke if you would listen to that while you're playing WoW, you would be doubling the fantasy.
Yeah.
And it just kind of became synonymous, like in a joke almost, but we actually all liked the album.
Yeah. That is awesome. That's perfect. What is the name of the band?
Elven King.
Elven King. I'm writing this down.
Ask Mike about it.
Okay. Blood, you got one?
I don't know that I do. I mean,
Brad just gave me mine, so I can go really quick.
Right, go for it.
I have a bunch, but one that really sticks out to me. You said World of Warcraft, and it immediately snapped in my mind. I remember. So what I used to do in high school, the cool kids in school, I had a group of friends, and we would bring our desktop computers to each other's houses. Oh, yeah. And we would play World of Warcraft. Sometimes we played Dota or Counter-Strike, but we played a lot of World of Warcraft together. And I remember listening, we were all like really into Tenacious D. And I remember listening to a lot of the first Tenacious D album, playing Burning Crusade together.
Nice.
And that was really fun.
It's easy to do that with MMOs, to have music.
I always reach a point in MMO where I pretty much like have to play
listen
music.
to something. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess there's just not been that many times where like I play with something.
Yeah.
Running in the background.
Because like you probably haven't played that many MMOs at all or anything like that, or long maybe like multiplayer games you play a lot.
I will say though, going back around to Need for Speed, the trouble with using licensed music is eventually. Like those dumb songs start getting stuck in your head because you've heard them so many times.
Yeah.
Like how many times have we done Offspring from Crazy Taxi?
Yeah.
But that's great.
Yeah, that's great, but it's like we can just keep doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well I don't even know. I've never heard it outside of Need for Speed, but there's some song in there where it's like the guy says like I'm a Burning Man baby, and I just get rid of that comma. Like we've just started joking about it. Like he's a Burning Man baby.
Oh, nice.
Like, and I even refer, like, when I was going back to play more Need for Speed, it's like, all right, like, it's time for some more Burning Man baby. Like, like that's just how I started referring to the game.
Burning Man baby.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Fun question. Fun email. Good batch of emails. Thank you to everybody who wrote in. If you'd like to send an email into us on Frame Trap, for us to chew on, to think about, to tell someone stories with, that is askeasyallies@gmail.com. That is going to be our show. I really liked this one.
Yeah. Always fun.
Yeah. Good conversations. It was fun building the list with you guys.
Yeah. It's like building this list reminded me. I'm getting like Goaty flashbacks just right now. I'm getting stressed about it.
You're getting stressed about it. Yeah. Well,
about 2018.
For like a year. We're not even through Goaties for this year.
Yep. Thank you so much to the sponsors on the show. Like I said, we have more sponsors on the show than we've ever had. Deeply appreciate that. If you would like to learn more about being a sponsor of the show, please go to easyallies.com/Patreon. No. Wow. That's the exact opposite of what it's supposed to be. It's patreon.com/easyallies. That's it. Not the other way around. I almost knocked over my can.
We got there.
Into the show. But yeah. Thank you, panel. Thank you, Bradley Ellis there in the middle. Thank you, Daniel Bloodworth. I am your host, Ben Moore. Until next time.